Township of Parsippany-Troy Hills, Township Council Special Meeting, April 23rd, 2015. Meeting called to order by myself at 6:04 p.m. Please rise for the flag salute. Mr. Peluso, if you would.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. Karifi.
Here.
Mr. DePiero. Mr. Peluso. Present. Mr. Stanton.
Here.
Mr. Valori.
Here.
Others present, Mayor Barberio, L&M Sandman, Business Administrator, Yancey Wazermas, Township Clerk, and Cucci, CFO. The agenda of this meeting, to the extent known, is as follows: review and discussion of the Mayor's 2015 budget recommendations. Formal action may or may not be taken.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on April 16, 2015, where it has remained posted since that date. Copies of this notice appeared in the Daily Record on April 20, 2015, and were faxed to the Star Ledger and various other newspapers and local radio stations on April 17, 2015.
Okay, first up, we'll have the administration and Township Clerk.
If I don't start the clock yet, because if I don't get it done, not the 5 minute clock. What I'd like to
30
do
seconds.
is,
You have to turn them on.
I need my mic. Okay, I can walk around with them.
I just checked them. They should be working.
Hello. Okay. Thank you. Good evening. And as the new administrator, new finance director, we're going to modify a little bit. We've worked with the finance committee, Lou and Paul, the mayor, and a little bit different. Gentlemen, I want to hand out, these are 2 copies of the budget of what's on this evening that you can review together. Share. He's got one. And one of the things I just wanted to clarify and state for the record, as you have said, Council President, there may be some action, there may not be action. The concept is it's a full 360 budget. You're going to look at everything. You're going to have people come before you, report, ask your questions, and open it up to the public for questions, certainly. And then when you digest and we look together to make this be what's best for Parsippany, then what will happen is we'll get to May 5th. We'll look at all that. We'll see the yin and the yang of it, the revenue side, the appropriation sides, the capital part of the budget. Then we get to May 14th. If you notice on your agenda part, not agenda, but on the listings of things, personnel mentions salary. As we all know, we have to be very cautious because of rice notices and things of that nature. This evening, when they come before you, mainly what they'll talk about is an open position or a promotion type thing that would be added to, manpower, different things of that nature. But when we get to the May 12th, 14th meeting, that's when we'll have a section on digging down into the personnel part, the salary increases and things of that nature in more depth, because we have to be very cautious about the public, the rice notice type thing for people discussing that. And I have to say that at this moment, I need to clarify on how we can go about that. But I think we can do it in a fine fashion of working together. So I appreciate the mayor and council working together on saying that there won't be, we're not going to say, okay, let's take a vote, this is out, this is in, we want to add this, we want to say, let's write it down, ask your questions, and when we get to towards the end of the middle of May, this becomes a body of work, and it's one body of work. Just for the record, to go on the record as far as what a tax point is worth, it's a very important thing. We don't want to talk about percentage. We wanted to talk about points. It's cleaner to talk about points. Points have a value, and one tax point at this time in 2015 is approximately $716,000. One tax point, $716,000. At this time, with a little bit of yin and yang, it looks like the budget is up 1.33%. Ann Cucci, the finance person, will call it a little under $1 million. The council president said that's all of $1 million. So it's about $1 million that we are looking at. But again, the best way to do a budget is to go through the whole process, hear the people come out and defend their positions, defend the programs, defend the policies, and then you make a decision based on all the presentation, if that's acceptable to the mayor and council at this time.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Yes.
Can I,
Yes.
I know 2 years ago we ran into this problem, but then last year we were provided with it. There were certain employees, because you were bringing up salaries and stuff like that, that received stipends, jumps, or whatever. And then last year we were provided with a list of that. Is this?
Yes.
Are we-
It's actually in there, but we can actually pull it out. Go ahead, Mayor.
Okay.
We'll make it a lot, not simpler. That way it's then done not in the public forum. You'll have those,
Okay.
I believe under position name,
Yes.
it'll say retired.
yes, that too. But what the
Well, no,
council
that's
president
what
is
I'm talking
referring
about.
to is saying that if someone's getting an additional increase, and an adjustment, that it's cleanly discerned, and we can get that for you by the first of the beginning of next week. Okay, so you'll have that as a separate sheet. It makes it a lot easier, and it's a good idea.
One more question before
Yes.
we start, if I may.
Yes.
When we transfer funds at the end of the year from one account to another account, so everything balances, okay? That means that department that we're transferring from didn't spend that money, and that's what we're spending to needed more. Is that reflected somehow in the budget? We can see that?
You know, it isn't, but Ann can provide that for you, and that's a very good question, Councilman, because, Mike, because what I'll tell you is, it does show, you know, the fact that what we're trying to do is, and I say to all the department heads, because we've met with them multiple times now, charge to the right line what it's for, even if, as long as the bottom line doesn't go over and we don't get into transfers. But Ann can provide that document for you, what was transferred to, what was transferred from. You have to use the microphone. But that's a valid question, too. It gets you to see, again, the whole picture. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Ellen, I just like
Yes.
to make, I just want to make one obvious determination of what I saw is that you did a great job. I want to boost your ego up, you and Ann, in regards to putting this budget together, because I was reading through it, and it appears that it's so much user-friendly in regards to following it.
And I want to thank my Ann for
One
putting
man
up with
to
me.
another.
Thank you, Ann. And I mean really putting up with me. And Dave in the little room there, putting it.
The two books was just such
It
a,
was very difficult last year going through
Right.
one manual to another, so.
As the council president, I don't know if he's going to say it, it was
if
like
you-
difficult to have the
just-
two books.
I know you explained this
Yes.
to the finance committee the other day. In the past, we had the two books. The second book had the description for each line item. Now the descriptions are right after that particular department. So as you're going through the book, you'll see the first section of each section will have the one part, and then the descriptions for each line item will be right after it.
Yes.
Another thing that we didn't want to have is all the pages falling out because there's a lot more information. So we told each presenter tonight if they felt there was a document that they wanted to refer to that we felt that would be augment their presentation. Like, for example, I know Joe has a sheet that he wants. Yeah, there he stopped because I knew you were behind me. He has a you can go to the men's room, but he has a sheet that I think would be helpful in presenting his case. But we said it's nice to do it during the time of the presentation because it becomes then part and parcel of the presentation. And I thank you for that. That being said, this is a time that one other thing that will be changed before Yancey and I do our budget is that working with the system, which is not yet the new system, there are some sheets. And for example, I just will make two examples to present what I'm trying to express here. With regard to the ambulance service, there was a sheet that was put in that was not the mayor's sheet. You will get that copy. Ann has that. I don't think you want to give them out. What Ann's going to give out is those sheets that got modified with the explanation as to why they got modified, okay? And in that case, most of the numbers went down, so that wasn't up. So I would say that. And then later on, when Jen comes, there's one thing that I might want to augment to it based on our last council meeting. The second thing I wanted to let you know is because this is a fluid document, the reason why it's fluid is because of what we're saying. We're going to look at everything and then address everything in the end. As we go, we'll make our notes. Just recently, we received $250,000 for DOT grant. We just got it, so it's not in the book. So these are the things that will be augmented to the book, so that at the end, everything that should be now presented and shown will be addressed in the book as we move forward. So I hope that is clear.
Quick question with that grant, that $250,000, is that coming off the?
Is that current?
So if the budget was up by close to $1 million, at $250, that knock it down to $750.
Would you eat your Wheaties today? No, it doesn't. It's out of capital. But I'd love to find free money like that. But thank you. Thanks for thinking that way. Yeah, right. Now, as you know, when I got interviewed, I did say to Lou, I said, "You like zero? I'll work on zero." And we have had some zeros.
Thank you.
No, thank you. No, I appreciate that. So we're good. Mayor, if you want to
say,
and then I'll let Ann say
her
her
thing.
thing.
Finance Committee, we met on Tuesday, and it was pretty productive. And basically, we got the same thing that everyone's getting tonight, and I thought the meeting went very well.
Absolutely.
And the fact is that we're going to have another meeting prior to the next one meeting we have, and I think it helps a lot, So
Thank you, it worked out well.
Can I ask, with the Finance Committee, can they do minutes? Because the three of us up here have no idea what happens at these meetings.
I agree.
There's only two people there, nothing comes back.
well, then, I'll
then
be
they
honest with
discuss
you.
If you want to maybe, just a suggestion.
Yeah, we could.
Maybe like
Or-
bullets as to.
That's
Yeah,
all.
just something so
Okay.
we know
Yeah,
we're
bullets.
not completely added
Right.
to it.
I'm not going to have someone come take minutes like it's
No,
like.
that-
what do you-
No,
that's
no,
fine.
no,
Just,
I mean-
just maybe
You
the
can just
big
take some bullets
points.
and that's
I
it.
mean, because Tuesday something was pulled, and for the three of us, we have no idea why, and a
What was
discussion
pulled?
happened
What
in
was pulled?
Finance Committee. The police
Right,
contract.
The police
Yeah,
contracts were
yeah.
pulled, and we had.
Oh, no, yeah.
Because of a discussion in the
Right.
Finance Committee, and the
Right.
three of us have no idea what happened.
Agreed, we could do bullets,
Yeah, I don't
and,
need
and,
bullets.
Okay, let
and
me
I
just-
feel,
hold
I know
on.
that you're comfortable with bullets because
That's fine.
Paul, Brian, and Lou should
All
be
right,
very
let me say
comfortable
this,
with
though,
bullets.
if I
Just
can,
something.
Councilman, and that's a good question. I pulled it. It wasn't, and I negotiate the contracts. And so after I left that meeting, I felt I would pull it, and I discussed that. And I didn't get, the reason was I want to go back and do a few extra things. But when it comes to contractual stuff, that's not something I really like to come out and say, put on a minutes, because I'm still in negotiations.
No, I got you, but it
Yeah,
could have
but-
just been due to
yeah.
negotiations, we pulled,
Right.
just so
That's all
we
it
didn't
was.
just come here and not know.
Okay, you got it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Brian. Councilman.
Mayor, thank you for reconsidering that, because I did ask at a council meeting about a month ago, maybe, if you can do that for us, create some
Right.
minutes and bullets. So thank you for reconsidering,
All right,
because the
no
three of
problem.
us are not aware of what's happening between you and the other
Okay, that's
council.
fine.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess Nancy and I are up. Basically, on my O&E, sorry. Thank you very much. No, that was not my Elvis. I would do it a lot better. I would like to say that going to O&E, that basically what I'm up in is my education is something that I feel very important about, or very passionate about, and the reason is Ann in particular, who's worked so hard on this budget, really wants to learn more and actually be an active participant, and I'll welcome the support, and you can always do better with investing in your employees. So that's pretty much on the O&E. I was going to kid around about I'd put a car in for capital, but I wouldn't even say that. Okay, I didn't say no, no, I didn't say that. And as far as the O&E, as we said, you can see that it's there. Basically, this budget contains, I can speak on behalf of everybody, basically it does contain a 2% increase with some modifications. As you know, we just, you guys, folks, just passed the blue-collar supervisor, and there's some additional funding in there in addition to the 2%. So, and then there's other things that we can address. So if you have any questions on our budget, but basically education. And I put the web page in there. That's what that is. I put the, not the web page, AlphaDog is in my budget so we'd have control over it. And as you know, Council President, we are at this point that we're under the 17.5, and he gave us 3 free months in June, July, and August to get under. Yes.
My question is for under public information, 66. Last year, we spent $1,000. We budgeted 25, we spent 1,000, and we're back up to 25. What happened with that? Number 266.
I'm sorry.
Under admin or clerk?
Public
It's under
information.
admin.
That's what that is, right?
Oh, yeah, good.
One of one.
I'm sorry. You know what? How easy it is. I can't even find my.
I just want to find it before I make my comment, make sure it's the right.
Because there's no description of it
Yeah, it's not even on here.
under the explanatory. 266 is not listed.
Oh, and what it is it's the video on the go. That's
Video on the go. It's the
that's
next
the
page.
the next page. Yeah, it's there,
Okay.
and it's been there. It's been in there. This is the money we pay to the Board of Education, the fellow that does video on the go, which is different than
Last
the
year we only paid him 1,000?
We probably didn't get the bills yet.
we get the bill late.
Okay.
Okay. No, that stayed the same. You know, that's what it was. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good catch, though. I mean, 24. That's a big difference. 24,000, but no. Any other questions on? Again, personnel we can address. Basically, it's at this point 2%, and we did put some money down in the bottom for some adjustments that we will talk to when you see the sheets that we give you. Yancy,
Not yours.
there you go.
You can use this one. Oh, I see.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
I think the council president does that.
What's that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Council President. I said any questions, get back. I got a little carried away.
I don't mean that.
You're 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I did.
Okay.
All right, I'll sign in. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up the public on this section of the budget and this section only. This department only.
I'll make a motion.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And this is only on section 020 and 022 at this time? Okay.
I was going to try to do it. I was going to, but I acquiesced to one of our standard bearers that come to the meetings said there might be some really deeper questions that I pretty much pride myself that I can answer most, but if they get into the weeds with some of the health questions, that gentleman asked if we could do it, so I said in deference to the system that we would allow it.
Okay.
I have a question about the committees, but that's 022.
Yeah, this will be on 020 and 022. Okay, see no one come forward. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing on those two.
Make a motion?
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. We have Township Council and committees.
I have a question on 025 committees. Municipal Alliance Committee, did we not give them 8,500 last year? Because it says 8,500 adopted, expended 0, and then this year back up to
He's on
8,500.
committees. I gotta go to it.
would be on the 025.
What's the number? What's the-
384,
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
the object code?
What's that?
Use the mic.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
How you doing, guys? Joe Plusher. I've been overseeing the MAC. That 8,500 is the match.
For
The county gives us money, we match it. They changed the cycle. It used to be a calendar year. Now they use the state calendar. So it's going from July to June. So we haven't actually drawn any of the match yet.
Okay,
So that's why you see nothing yet.
gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good catch, though. I'll use the BA's quote on that one.
I have a question on the committees as well. On the committees, I see a lot of the budgets, $500, which was the same as last year. But have we reached out to each committee, or the liaison reach out to each committee and asked them what their anticipated budget would be? Yes.
I mean, what I will just state for the record that what we get, what comes in, I don't know whether Yancy first, I would ask Yancy if she had gotten some additional information. Then I would turn it over to your council president.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
can we speak to each committee and find out what their anticipated budget is? Because I know we had a presentation a few weeks back from the environmental committee. They want to run an event with the Fall Festival, so we don't have an anticipated budget. I'm sure $500 may not cover it. So can we reach out to the committees and find out what their anticipated budgets may be?
Most committees, so,
There's only a few listed.
I mean, we could, yeah, I mean, that would be.
Most committees are advisory only.
Right, advisory, so it's not like they would get, but I understand what you're saying, because with regards to the environmental committee, they do go out and they do certain functions that, getting maps and that kind of stuff, which costs, especially when they get the engineering types of maps, they cost a
Right.
decent amount of money. What I would recommend is the liaison find out what it's going to cost to run that program.
Okay.
And if they want to come back to the liaison and ask them, you guys can increase that portion of the budget,
Okay, good.
to more than 500.
Just for the record, I already reached out to the environmental, historic, and economic development committees that I serve on as liaison, and I did ask them for an anticipated budget. I was not sure if the clerk received that. I asked them to direct it directly to the clerk.
The answer is no.
No.
But I will say this is what we're talking about. These are things, this is a big deal. This is a big town. There's a lot of moving parts, as I say. And we're going to, at the end, have a really good product because we've reached out, people have gotten in, and we'll make sure that we capture everything. So, again, that just proves the point of you get to the end to find out where we really are. Okay, thank you.
It's a work in progress.
Yes, it is. It's fluid.
Okay, any other questions on?
I have a question on
These two
Division 021, council salaries. Can I just get the 2014 verified? And also,
Yeah, oh, yeah, take it.
That test. I'm doing the test thing. I'm going to check those salaries. I believe the base salary for 2014, I don't believe you took the 2% on that from last year. So I will change those salaries down. And I'm not even sure if you took it the year before. So I'll fix those salaries for you. They're lower.
Some of us did not.
Wait,
Okay.
some of them did. The ones that didn't want it.
I need to change, I need to verify those salaries is what I'm trying to say for 2014.
yes, if you can
okay?
verify them.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I recommend to the entire council and administration who would be willing to give up their 2% increase towards balancing the budget. Although it's minimal, I will be giving up my 2% increase as a council member and giving it back to the community.
Okay, so that's something that, we're going to mark what Ann's going to work on and then verify what was actually in the budget for 14. Okay, that's good. Ann, you have that.
I got it.
As will I, as well.
Yes.
Okay.
You also have to remember, too, like I've denied it for the past few years, I'm denying this year too, but it still has to go in for newcomers. They can't come in and out.
Yeah, yes, that's very valid point, and then that would have been reviewed, yes.
And that's what happened last year. You keep the salary the same, but you just get the.
Exactly.
That's why.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, it doesn't-
Okay, any other
Okay, we can share.
questions? Nope. No? All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up public hearing on 021 and 025.
Motion?
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Yeah, 3 minutes. Okay. Okay, please, when you come up, state your name and address. You'll be given 3 minutes.
I'll stand. Nicholas Homiak, Blake, Hiawatha. I don't understand why some of these committees can't be combined or made to enforce the planning board. Environmental committee, it seems what role did they play? I remember they couldn't even have a voice in Waterview. And presentation, we had a few things back that seemed more like a garden club. They want to grow the biggest vegetable. So I don't understand what their purpose is if they're not going to be involved more with things that matter, like sanitation, recycle. They weren't allowed to speak, I believe, at Waterview. I believe that Mr. Kaplan, I think, actually had to bring someone there, but it wasn't like they were allowed. And then the historical committee, I don't think we had. How come there wasn't any? How come our letter to concerning Greystone didn't trigger anything on our own? Like why our historical committee seems to be. Inept. I'm sure they served some purpose, but they weren't able to pull any triggers to, like Craftsman's Farm, if you'll notice, Department of the Interior, this town could have advocated all the way to the point where they could have gotten in touch with the National Park Service and said, can you please help us with the preservation of the Kirkbride building or something to that order. So some of these committees, to me, just seem like clubs, like get-togethers, and if they can be used for some enforcement of our actual planning board, I think they would be more purposeful and useful. I know they're, whatever they get is a minute $500, but they should be able to have a little more force behind what they're doing.
I would agree with you. I myself would have liked to have the environmental committee give a report on the Waterview. But I know the environmental committee did give us a very detailed report on the flood down in Lake Hiawatha after they gave us a presentation here at the council. So they have in the past. I know that specific report was very well presented, and it did have a lot of detail. Yeah. But I do understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I understood that the flood, I heard a rumor, I don't know whether it was true or not, about the non-maintenance of a diversion valve on that dam that the Suez water company didn't repair, and that was one of the reasons that the flood occurred. I never saw that in the report. But anyway. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, see no one else come forward. Entertain a motion to close the public hearing on these two sections of the budget.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso, seconded by Mr. Valori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, Parks and Forestry, line item 170, Mr. Walsh.
Anna, you're going to just give out that one sheet then? Okay. As we said, this was the one where there was a transposition on a large number, which I believe were his summer help. Is that the number, is that's what it's referring, seasonal, I mean, summer, seasonal help. What? I'm sorry? Okay, you can hand it to them and they'll just know to take the first sheet, okay? What Ann's going to hand out, one of the things, as I said, the first sheet will be talking about Mr. Walsh's a budget that was modified. There was a transposition. Not that it was so significant, but we were making a few other changes, as I said, when we get down to human resources, and you'll see. So if you just change the sheet, you'll see how easy it is. You're going to pull out the old sheet and just put in the new sheet, okay? And again, this is, I apologize for this in the sense of, for accuracy, and this is why we do keep reviewing. It's that, like I say, it's fluid.
Actually,
Yes.
it says that in there. Okay.
Ellen, if I can just make a
Yes.
suggestion, on any change sheets going forward, can we mark on the bottom REV for revision so we don't get confused?
Absolutely, yeah, do that, and we'll make sure we do that.
Just
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I
Take
just
out
say,
the old, put the new.
another way to tell, just for now, is the date at the bottom. Another way to tell at the date at the bottom of the sheet.
You updated.
Yes, it'll show the new date, okay?
Thank you.
But you just took out one.
There's only one, 2 pages on that one.
Soda, who wants- Okay,
Bunch of pages.
There's coffee and purchasing.
okay, thank you very much. And what will happen is, prior to, if there's anything, which we didn't get too many calls back on the budgets going forward in May, so we'll give you a second to change that, okay? Ann, did you want to say something before Jim starts, as far as anything with the finance?
I only got 2 pages for 170, he's on like 5 or 6.
Okay. When Finance gets up to talk at another time, what she's going to talk about is the modifications and the allocations as well. So we'll get into the discussion on that at that time.
You got the short.
I'm good.
And again, I didn't want to make this difficult, like you don't have 2 books, but, with a couple of pages. But in the long run, it'll be nice and clean. And as Ann says, the date's on the bottom. Okay. Okay, Jim.
Good evening.
It's better if you keep holding it. Because if you're too far from it, you can't hear it. So bring it closer.
I'm good, thank you. I got to serve. Thank you.
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Before we get started, could you just give us an update on the Smithfield the project over there?
Yeah, I met with the architects last week, and we're still in the process of designing it and trying to trim down the cost on it. It did come in substantially higher, but some of the numbers that they projected, the projected cost was substantially higher. Some of the numbers that they projected were way out of bounds with what I had as far as concrete numbers. So we went back, met again, did some revisions. I'm hoping this time we'll have a better number on it before I go out to bid.
Does it still look like August?
No, probably more towards the end of the year.
End of the year?
That it should be done.
Yeah.
Okay. We're about 2 months behind now. So if we start in June, July, you're looking probably about 4 months. which should put us towards the end of the year.
Okay.
I mean, again,
This is very important.
the dollar amount was far above it, and, you know, when I come back, if I have to come back and ask for more money, I only want to do it once, and really have a concrete number, because there's nothing worse than starting a project and then finding out that, you know, you can't get it done. So it was really a big difference, and we took, this time we took probably about 1.2 off of what the projected cost was, and I'm expecting to bring that down even further.
And that's the holdup. That was the holdup that I wanted to do, you know, that Jim was monitoring it and going there and saying, because he came into my office and I could see his face with truly ashen, and I said, what is it? He said, you couldn't possibly, what was the one thing that you said, you know, it was like getting
Well, there was two things in this project that are driving the costs. One is the drainage. Because of the new DEP regulations, we have to have all kinds of drainage and filtration systems in place, which was around $1.1 million. By redesigning it, we've taken it down to about half of that. And that we don't have to have, there's different ways now. We have enough property down along Seafield in that area that's not going to be affecting Seafield, but that we can use as a different way to drain and still keep within the DEP guidelines. The other big number was the buildings, which came in probably about, I think it was around 1.2, almost $1.3 million. I had numbers, concrete numbers from a few years ago from projects that we've done that were nowhere near that. However, because times have changed, companies have gone out of business or bought over, those numbers were actually different. So we've now gone a different way. Instead of doing prefab buildings, we're doing a block, or what you call a stick build, which is probably about half of what that number will be. So by just those two things, we've cut down about $1.2 million. And when I went back again, looked through it again, there were certain things that I didn't like what I saw that we can, you know, cut and find out and see if we can get it down even further. This way, it's, you know, it's a viable project. It's a fair project. It's not, you know, outrageous.
And you just needed to hear that, because, you know, this is, unfortunately, as when he explained it, it's not a clean canvas. There's things on it that have to be moved and modified, and of course, there's money, but I have to give
Thank you for the update. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alan, are we going over the capital portion for each director as well? Okay.
We didn't have any capital, Nancy and I. We were trying to get some capital.
Yeah, you'll see it on the schedule
Was not.
Thank you.
for Parks and Forestry.
Yes, definitely the capital, but you know what, it's I just told Jim, I think it's nice to start out with the O and E, I mean, the O and E, go into the capital, and then go back to S and W, because the S and W is, you know, slight, you know, there's not as much that we're gonna be able to go in tonight, but you have the books.
Under
and-
capital.
Thank you.
I always have fun writing.
Jim, in reference to Tree City, how many years are we Tree City?
This year's 39 years.
39 years. How's our progress on that? You feel confident we're going to continue that designation?
As long as I'm here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, what time tomorrow?
11 o'clock. 11 o'clock out in the front is our Arbor Day ceremony of 39 years.
Great.
So tonight we have the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts from the local packs down in my shop packing the trees, and we also got about 1,500 additional seedlings from the state themselves. We went and picked them up today. So there's about 3,500 trees that we're going to, whether we package them all tonight, that's how long the kids can stay. But we'll have certainly the evergreens that go out to all the third graders will be done tonight. And then the other ones will, if we don't get them done, we'll finish them up ourselves.
I have to tell you, Jim, my wife warned me, do not come home with any trees.
But we might have some that she might like this year, because we
I
did
know they're
get,
little, but they turn up big.
we did get some other ones.
I planted a bunch of those, well, way back when I bought my house 50 years ago. And we had no grass and no shrubs, nothing green at that time. I planted 15 of those right along the side of my house. And 20 years later, they're lifting the roof off my house.
That's why we're 39 years in a row. Thank you.
Talk about plan ahead. I didn't do that.
We're not getting a bill for the roof, are we? Jim, the reason why I mentioned that is because you worked very hard at that over the years you've been with us. And, we appreciate, or I specifically appreciate, everything you do for us in regards to making us Tree City and, doing a fine job with our parks and forestry. So, thank you.
Mayor, do you have the time? You just heard there would be the Arbor Day outside in front of the building, but there also is going to be at the Smith Baldwin. What time that is? Right after, following it?
I found that out today. A tree planted today, tomorrow, right after.
Tomorrow, right after this.
At the Baldwin House. There'll be a ceremonial Arbor Day.
Right, and an added attraction is that we're going to have a demonstration with regard to bees.
Yep.
Yeah, that's here, okay?
Bees.
We have beekeepers, as you well know, that...
I'm highly allergic to them, so.
No.
Can I control that?
All right, here, I'm going to give it to you, Jim.
Jim, just some questions on employees. I see you have one that retired and one that resigned. Did you replace those?
Yes, we did.
Okay, good.
Before the bees came, I wanted to make sure that it was secure.
Yeah.
And I saw the boxes they were in, they can't get out.
Jim, can you also help us understand what the line item is on Division 170, page 404, for park attendants? What is a park attendant? What do they do?
A park attendant is a part-time employee who goes around at night, mainly at night and on the weekends, to check permits, make sure that the fields are occupied or not occupied, and then we turn the lights off. Basically to make sure that the operation or the permitted operation is running smoothly.
O&E first. We're going to go with that. O&E.
What's the third
Okay.
I have a question for the mayor. I'm not sure where this should go. You know that we're talking about possibly letting the school board use the parking lot at the Knoll, and they will only do that if they can use a portion of the building. Now, the building is ours and it's run down, so if we're going to make this work in any way, we've got to take care of the structure of the building, the roof and the siding. And Jim said that we have to be concerned about water. They drain the pipes in the winter.
Winterization, yeah. There's no heat in the building. There is, so we do have to drain the building to make sure that none of the pipes freeze or anything like that.
And you said you were going to look to see if there's a way you could keep the pipes from freezing, if indeed they need a bathroom in there, or a lavatory in there?
I did look. The difficult part is that where the pipes come in out of the ground and go through the wall, we don't have a way of heating them or wrapping them. Unless we heat the filter room where the pipes come in, I don't know that I can guarantee that the pipes aren't going to freeze in the wintertime.
Okay, well, none of this is in the budget. It's not fair to stick this on either yours or the Knoll, after the budget is adopted.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, Mayor, should we be thinking about this?
Well, we'd have
effort?
to, first, one of the things we'd have to do is really get a good assessment of that building. That building is, I'm going to tell you,
It's old and run down. We know.
it's run down. I
It
just,
never
I
had
don't
heat-
wanna
Never
ha-
had heat in there?
yeah, well, we
No,
could,
never had heat in it.
right, but because there's a pool.
Well, the roof is in decent shape, and for the most part, it's a block building, block and brick building. The back part, there's some of the siding, the wood siding has fallen off, which,
Right.
again, we can replace with vinyl. So minimal dollars, I think, for the outside. It's the inside that is old, and, you know, we put in new ceiling tiles every couple of years or whatever, you know, to spruce it up some.
Well, I was thinking the inside would be their job.
Okay, well,
And if we get the structure sound outside, and the electricity's okay, and we can solve the water.
well, that would be the
freezing
hardest
problem,
part, is the water issue.
Yeah, those are ours. But renovating the inside, if they agree to do this, I mean, in my opinion, that would be theirs.
I just want to add to the conversation, too, because I was thinking about it from Tuesday's council meeting. Is there any other resolutions to moving the buses elsewhere? Has the traffic committee been consulted on this to try and provide some opportunity for discussion?
I'll tell you, the traffic committee hasn't been advised that I know of. But the police department, basically, if you move it, you're going to create another problem somewhere else. That's
The police department, you know, they're thinking inside the box. But for the last 2 years, you know, their simple answer is put up no parking signs. Well, we did that on Ferran Drive, and we didn't solve the problem, we moved it. Now, their solution again is put up no parking signs, and that's not gonna solve the problem either, it's gonna move it. So trying to think outside the box, I've been dealing with the school board, and we had the interim superintendent, now we have this new one who's not interested. The administration there says that there's no place that they can put the buses. In the meantime, the kids have no place to park. They're trying to find some place to park. These are juniors now. Seniors can park on school property. They've stolen, there's 19 buses in that parking lot, and 19 spaces for the bus drivers. That's 38 spaces taken away from the kids. So I've been trying to find a solution outside the box. One possible partial solution, interim, is maybe we can let them use.
It's outside the scope of the budget. I think
It's really not, because if we're gonna do something with that building up at the Knoll.
Mike, in all due respect, these are the issues that we will keep on target, but we need to go to the next part of
Okay.
this budget. But I appreciate, you know, bringing it up. We can do do bits of it, because we all are here together. It's in a different setting with regard to the overall commitment to Parsippany, all parts of Parsippany. But I'm going to stop talking myself and give it to.
I just want to say one 10-second thing on the subject. I cannot see the school board picking up any fees on this if we're asking them to move the buses, to maintain the building or anything. I think they're going to turn around and put it on the town. Why would they pick up an added budget item if we're asking them to move the buses? So, that's it.
Be a whole meeting on
It could be. I'd just like to take another 10 seconds. Yancy, can you just inform the traffic committee of what's going on? Due respect for them. You know, we appoint these people to a committee. We have a lot of confidence in them. The more people that can actually, you know, help us with this, the better.
I'm the
That's why I got to say.
liaison of the traffic committee. I can tell you that the traffic committee's not aware of this specific issue as far as that parking, but we can discuss it at our next committee meeting.
Thank you. Sorry, John.
If you notice, we've added line item or object code 231. We added Watnon Gardens. Again, that's one of our prized possessions, which I do have somebody up there working there on his own hours. We do supply material there, but this is we added it to that just because we have something that might come up, tree work. We're looking at putting an automatic drive gate up there this year, so that Helen's getting on in years, and it's easier for her to have a gate that.
That was Helen?
Helen, not Ellen. Helen. Helen's getting on in years, and it's hard for her to get out of the car and open and shut the gate. So by putting an automatic pass through there, but that's what that line item is for stuff above and beyond for those two sites. Education I raised this year because, again, we have fertilizer, pesticide licenses that need to be addressed, and, again, continuing education in the field so that the guys know how to do things, and it's not just the fertilizer and pesticides. It's sending them to classes through Rutgers for field maintenance and, concrete block that kind of stuff, so that they're up to date, because we do a lot of stuff in-house. It gives them a sense of pride, and it gives them some information, too. So we did raise that this year. Irrigation supplies went down. Again, that varies year to year. We, at certain points in time, you get to a point where everything is good, and then you start over again.
While Jim's turning the page, I just point to the fact that the budget is down a bit from 462 to the 458. I want to say that Ann and I were very impressed with the thought process that Jim has developed in putting this budget together. That's why it's very well organized. Thank you, Jim.
So am I.
Jim, I
I'd
see
just
you.
like to echo that, so am I.
really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, to echo that as well, I see, Jim, you reduced office supplies and expenses as well. So, thank you for trying to keep this under budget.
You're welcome. An example of we went over in pesticides this year, but I'm not asking for more, because we're, you try to stay current on your pesticides, and by utilizing certain things or certain chemicals, it is cheaper in the long run, but you have to build up that supply first. So last fall, as I do, we buy stuff in the fall for the spring. That's why we went over in that line item, but we kept it the same because we're not going to need that extra bulk for this year. We went down in park equipment, mainly because every once in a while we'll put in there for Musco. We have Musco contracts, and I think if you look at last year's, it does say that we did have certain contracts that come up. So that's out of there this year. This is basically what I need to repair and replace swings, equipment, stuff like that in the parks. Cell phones, we went up a little bit. Again, the reason for this is that if you look at what it says per month, that reflects the cell phones. Part of our irrigation systems are computerized and run either on like Optimum or cable, or, for example, Generone does not have cable up there, so we use a transmitter, a cell phone transmitter, which it saves us money. And it also enables us to handle the irrigation, keep track of it via computer, via phone, so that we, it makes it a little bit more manageable. The heating went up at the request of our purchasing agent because he was concerned with prices, so that's the only reason why that went up.
Gentlemen, what we didn't put behind, we thought this would also be something, just like we keep the utilities all together and separate. The you go to your capital tab, and you go to the 170, and you'll see that his capital budget is there. One of the things that I often think is fine for both the folks that are the elected officials that care and are concerned about the purse string and our debt service and our debt structure is that when people ask for capital improvements and you say yes to those capital improvements, I always like to just touch base, and we did this with all our department heads. I said, what was done in 2014 that you were given to do? So I just like Jim to just touch a little base on the highlights and then say what he's looking for, because if a department head keeps asking and doesn't get those other things done, it's not in his case, but it's nice to hear what was done, what you passed the budget for. So if you could just highlight some of the capital budget things that you did in 2014 and then go on to your 2015. Thank you.
Okay, 2014, we've gotten our vehicles ordered. We've gotten 2 out of the 3 vehicles in. We're waiting on 1. The forklift is waiting to go out to bid. The pavilion is is being, well, we've gotten the purchase order for that. We're just waiting for that to come in, and then we'll install that. The paving at both Volunteers and Lake Parsippany and Hills of Troy has not been done yet. Again, we ran out of time last winter or last fall. We'll do that this spring. Lake Parsippany is going to take us a little bit of time. We were able to, at least at Volunteers, move the fence back on the one side to give the path a little bit wider access for our vehicles so that we don't run the trucks off the side of the blacktop and wind up breaking it up. We're going to do the same thing at Lake Parsippany. We're going to widen the path, so that our vehicles, particularly our garbage truck, can get in and out of there without destroying the path, and it'll make it nicer. The new vehicles, or the new capital, the first two are, again, they're older vehicles. They're 12 years old. They're used daily, and they are worn out. There's nothing left to say on them. Our log truck, this will replace a one that we are currently using. The crane we took off of it's a 1971 crane. We were able to refurbish it and put it on this truck from our old, when we replaced the 74 GMC with this truck. However, the crane has reached its life expectancy. We had an incident this year where, in picking up a log, the crane came off the truck, not because we were picking something up, but because of metal fatigue. So we, in researching this, in order to safely utilize a crane or a log picker, the truck has to match it. So we have to do both truck and crane to make it safe and make it match.
Jim, more importantly than the expense, was anybody hurt when that happened?
No.
Oh, good,
No.
okay.
No.
That's the main concern, is the safety of our employees.
Yeah, it was. We were lucky that nobody, the log was out away from the person.
Right.
When it did come down, but it was okay.
Good,
I'd say we
thank
got
you.
pretty good use out of that crane, 44 years, right?
That's not
Yeah,
good usage.
yeah. Well, we had it rebuilt when we got the truck, and now with the metal fatigue, especially with that plate, there's, I don't want to take that chance.
No.
And it was a 1970.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right.
You don't want to take a chance. You don't want
Yes.
to take a chance with that.
Our service body truck, again, we have a 1990 Chevy Step van. It was the police department SWAT van that
History there.
that I got that, and we painted it and changed it into an irrigation truck. It's old, and it's reached its
I was just thinking,
usefulness.
tenure on there, that's good.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we got quite a bit out of that. Again, it's just it's an enclosed service body truck. It's a smaller truck, but it'll do, what we need it to do.
Jim, sorry to interject, but an F-550 is a workhorse of a truck. Are these going to be equipped with plowing capabilities?
All of our trucks will be, except for this one. Our service body trucks, we have one in the fleet now. This would be our second one. We do not put plows on them because when you're plowing the streets and or parking lots, you can easily rip the bodies off.
Yes.
And they become quite expensive to try to realign and get the cabinet doors and all that. We have enough plowing equipment for the employees that we have. So I don't see a need to put a plow on this one.
Okay.
It's more towards the weight that it's going to hold. The 550 is a 19,500 GVW, which is the heaviest for a smaller mason dump style truck. Once you get into the bigger ones, they don't necessarily fit everywhere.
And these are diesel trucks, right?
All diesel.
Okay, because diesel tends to be a little bit more expensive than gas. Are you budgeting for fuel as well, that we can have a savings maybe because of the efficiency of these trucks now?
That would be the
That's-
purchasing agent.
that's the purchasing
Yeah,
agent.
My
Purchasing.
first request that.
Okay.
Yeah, for that.
We look at all
Because you're buying the fuel in bulk, right? Okay.
The next one is our Moorbark chipper. Again, it's a 97 chipper. What these machines do is they basically self-destruct themselves. We've rebuilt this one once already. a total rebuild of the plenum and the area where the chipper blade and drum, are enclosed. However, it's, again, with it beating itself up, the metal just becomes fatigued, so the chipper is worn out. I'm putting a new play structure in at Mountain Way Park. I think I have one or two more parks that are going to have that need the play structure, Lake Parsippany being one of them. That's slated for next year. Again, the replacement of this is because they're older, and they do meet most of the New Jersey playground code, not all of it. So as we go along and we're replacing them, it helps us out that way.
And that's open space anyway, right?
That's open space, yes.
You mentioned Lake Parsippany, Jim. Did you check to see what that group was complaining about? Was there caps come off bolts or something?
That was a complaint from last year, which we addressed.
Oh, okay.
And I made sure the guys went out Monday and checked that to make sure it was done, and it was done.
Okay.
That was an old complaint, which when she talked to you, that was that was addressed.
Jim, I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
To pick up on that comment, Jim, is there a routine verification of playground equipment, that they check the bolts and the security of it, that everything's in place? Is there like a routine schedule that they'll check all that?
We do go around and check them in an informal manner. We have an idea of how long, for example, the swing bearings last. I just bought some new swing sets to replace the old ones because, again, they're older. So we're doing that in various parks.
So you self-inspect?
We self-inspect, and we have people in in the parks every day. If there is something that is hazardous or apparent, they will let their supervisor know, and we take care of it right away.
Thank you.
I was 27 years with, or 28 years with the Morris County JIF, and we had actually safety people that came out in addition to our own inspections. So I'm going to check with our JIF and say, why aren't they coming out to give us an assist, with that review? I mean, I know you're doing a good job, but they do it on a consistent basis. One of the things I just wanted to ask or just mention, I met with Jim and Greg from DPW not too long ago, and they came up with a concept of which we'll talk at length, but just to let you know, when we're talking about what the chipper can do and what the chipper can provide and how it chops it up, we're talking about I guess it's the leaf, not the leaf so much, but no, I know it's not the grinder, but it led me to the plan that we have.
You lost your mic.
Your mic's off.
Mic's off.
Money savings thing. Oh, the mic's off. A money saving thing that dovetails to what Jim does and Greg, but I'd like you to.
Those batteries don't last very
You
long.
might need another one.
We're out of time.
Is there mics in the budget?
Yeah, mics, no batteries.
Batteries in the budget?
Yes.
Okay, good, thanks.
We were talking with Alan, Greg Snyder, and myself. He has a large yard waste pile, which between his department and mine, we use the horizontal grinder and we chop it down into yard, mulch and or compost. We get rid of that compost, but at a cost. We were looking at, and Greg and I have always talked about this. I take some of it myself and I bring it up by my shop because that's what we use in our flower triangles and various plantings, and it's good. It's good material. We were coming up with the concept of either finding a piece of property to take this yard waste and let it decompose and rot down and change it into leaf compost and or topsoil. The savings would be that you don't ship any of this out, and then you could sell it back to either the landscapers or the township residents at a minimal cost, because you're saving your transportation and your hauling fees.
You don't even have to sell it if you're still
Self-sufficient.
saving money.
Right.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah, we were saying
Yeah.
that.
Come and get it.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. I've already talked to our attorney, Justin, and I said, can you put something together? And what we could do is, because they already have most of the landscapers that are coming in that are from Parsippany, that show proof that they are, maybe license them, a $25 license fee, but then you say, come and get it, with the caveat that you're signing up and it's at, you're picking it up. Cover the basis that, it's not. It's very good material. They'll love it, and they also have the added benefit of colorizing some of the the mulch. So I mean, we can really save money, and also for the residents, we could provide it that it would be at no cost. And we just think it's a win-win, because Greg will talk a little bit about the pricing. I don't have it off the top. I don't think Jimmy does. But the thing is, big numbers, and it could make a lot of people.
Especially
Let's say,
coloring-wise,
yes.
then you sell
What
Yeah,
property
just
would you
organize
use for this?
We do, right now we do, we bought a dye injector for the tub grinder, which I use to double grind our wood chips into playground mulch. We put that into playgrounds. We do not buy mulch. We put it out for the public.
Smart.
I just bought this last summer. I made about 200 yards of dyed black mulch, which you see around town hall. It's the same stuff that you buy in the garden centers, and it's minimal cost to us as far as what the dye is concerned. Costs, and well, we can add. We're not there yet. We can add various things to it. To
Where would you do this, Jim? On your area?
well,
or-
the mulch we're doing at our area right now. The leaf compost you can't, because as you know, the smell would just
The odor would- yeah, yeah.
right. So I would like to see something down, by the sewer plant, somewhere down around that area.
There's enough space down there.
Yeah, we believe that there is, and so we're doing it as a two-prong approach. So again, as we said, I'd like at a budget meeting you to hear some of the creative things that we're trying to do to get to zero to some of the things, and
Thank you.
not only for cost-wise, but for our residents, and then also for people that work in Parsippany and they support us. So I'm pretty excited about that possibility. So thank you.
One quick question.
ahead.
The signs for no smoking in the parks, have they been addressed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
I have-
we've been putting them up.
Okay.
I believe I made, I don't know, probably close to 80 or 100 signs.
Good, good.
And we've been putting them up, mainly on the posts that we're already in the ground. So as we get the posts, but I believe the major parks should have them up.
Jim, a question with the composting and everything. It may be a question possibly for a different department head, but are we taking in anything from landscapers?
Yes.
We are.
Well,
Are
that's
we-
Greg's, but I
It's
can
correct.
answer
Okay.
that as
But
yes.
your particular area is not taking anything in from landscapers?
We take in from tree companies.
Tree companies?
If you're working in Parsippany, and they know that there's a few tree companies in Parsippany that live in Parsippany. They know where to dump. The power companies, when they're trimming the lines,
Yes.
when they're trimming in Parsippany, they dump by us. So yeah, we do take Parsippany only, though.
The question I had is, are we charging for dumping, but we may not want to if we're going to be utilizing that for mulching?
Yeah, no, I don't
So-
charge them, because to me, I don't buy mulch. I
Right.
take that and I'll double grind
So
it
it's
and
a
I'll put it
benefit
right,
for us then.
right. And I put it out for the public to take too. You're talking probably, it depends on what you call it, whether it's double playground mulch or not, but the garden centers usually sell it for $20 to $25 a yard.
Right.
We put it out for nothing to the public. The dyed mulch is approximately $45 to $50 a yard, which we're making for nothing, and we're well, I shouldn't say nothing. We're making for the cost of the dye and the fuel, but that gives us another added material to put around the building. I'm not putting it in the parks and the playgrounds because, as you know, dye does come off. I don't want the kids to go home and their mothers to shoot me.
And then call the mayor's accent, son. I appreciate that.
I have a purple kid.
Jim, I have another question. Again, it may not be your department. In reference to the amphitheater, is that your area of coverage?
Yes.
It is. Can you tell me the status on the amphitheater? Is it active? Does it need to be revitalized? And what's going on with the building that's next to it?
Well, the building the building and the amphitheater is one and
It
the,
is
is
one
one and the
and the
same. Yes, we have the local Boy Scouts use it, and they're using it more and more now because they're looking for a place. They're going to be painting it as part of their service project, and that's about the use that we have right now.
Are we renting out the amphitheater right now?
We've met with somebody, and it could be an anticipated rental.
Right now, it's just in discussion. We haven't talked
It's an
about it.
underserved resource that we
It
have.
is an underserved resource, and the entity would be somebody, some folks that would be giving back to special needs children. I believe that's what it would be. Yes.
Would that complement the special needs park that we have down the road from it?
Yes, but also it would Lenny Lenape Park would also probably get more utilized there because that's closer.
Okay.
So again, that would be a benefit for them too.
Are you also responsible in your department for the acreage that's behind that park? That's part of the knoll that runs down. It's a slope of greenery, or would that be the country club?
Which one? The driving range?
the driving
No, that's
range.
That'd be
that's
the
the
driving
knoll.
range.
The knoll's responsible for that.
Okay, very good. Just thank you, Jim, for your leadership and leading by example with thinking outside the box, because we definitely need that from all departments as our budgets get tighter and we're trying to aim for zero. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think what I asked Jim next to do is just to do some highlights. As we said, with regard to personnel, we're pretty much talking about maybe if it's a new position, filling a retirement position, modifying, having someone do something or a title change. He will address that. And then if you have any other questions with regard to that, you want to do your highlights. How do you mean?
Basically, I've had, over the past year or year and a half, I've had 2, 3, 4 people either resign, retire, and I've replaced them with laborers. Again, and these were people that have had many years here, or at least 3 of them have had long-time employees, so that you do have a considerable savings when you hire a new employee. At least pay-wise, because they're not up at the top of the labor grade. And I do have a couple of promotions, which at least in my department, they need to do the job first, show that they can do the job before I put them in for a promotion. So I know that I'm confident that these people are the right fit. And again, by rewarding or promoting people, it kind of dangles a carrot for other people too to strive to do more and progress.
Jim, I got to say you're impressing me because I believe in promoting from within. So thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Good job.
Some of the again the seasonal employees, they help us from now until November, and they're a vital part, particularly when we have the amount of work that we have now. So that's why the numbers did go up a little bit here. Again, we get a few people coming back. As they come back, they don't start at the base salary. We do take their salary and do give them, a little bit of a bump. Maintenance overtime, again, that speaks for itself. We run from April through October, 7 days a week, whether it's for ball games, picnics. The weekends, the guys are working. We have a crew, a minimum crew of 4 guys on Saturdays and Sundays. Usually it's 4 or 5 hours of work to get the parks ready and clean up from the day before, get the fields going, so that the public can use. Yeah. Yes. This is also, and also some of that is Memorial Day, Veterans Day, the concert series, that's in here also. The only one we went down was the park attendant. Or no, we didn't go down. It's the same. Never mind. Strike that.
How many parks, and we're all familiar with all the major ones, but we have a lot of neighborhood parks that you maintain too. How many parks altogether?
I believe there's 31 developed parks in Parsippany. From Glass Barrel Park, which is a small pocket park, up to Smithfield, which is probably our largest park. Oh, that's dead. And we're part of our job also is, besides the township buildings, is the floodplain, or the flooded houses down in Hiawatha, which there's 20 houses that we're maintaining. If it's on township property and it's green and it grows, we maintain it. So there's, this time of year, we're starting to really gear up to get things done.
Do you see any signs of dumping on any of those properties? Yeah?
No, not yet.
That's good.
You might find a pile of leaves here or something, but it's nothing.
No tires, no refrigerators?
No, not yet.
Is there a plan for those properties yet?
Garden.
We've been discussing some of it. Maybe a few rain gardens here or there.
To absorb water?
Yeah, to take off the whether it's from the neighboring properties or from down the street and have it go in and go into that property and be leached back through the ground, something like that.
Make it like a detention basin?
They don't make detention basins anymore. They're recharge basins.
That was an engineering question he wanted to ask if it.
When will that particular type of expense hit us in order to, take care of those properties and make them into rain gardens?
It's actually where Julie in the purchasing department is working on grant money, zero.
That's what I was going to suggest. We can work with the Rutgers
Absolutely.
Extension possibly.
She's working in concert with the county folks, and right now she's and Rutgers. So she's doing a
That's
fabulous
music to my
job.
ears, thank you.
Yes, I know. I mean, Gabe left, and Julie took on that role as the mayor. Is nodding in the affirmative. We've got very dedicated people that step up, and you'll see some advertising on coming out to a conversation about what's going to happen down in that neighborhood. So maybe what I'll ask is, maybe is Mike on tonight? Mike Hardy on tonight? Yeah, he might have. Maybe he might even have a flyer on that. So that's what we're thinking. Thank you.
Jim, do we maintain any school fields at this time?
No, we do not. The school maintains their own. The only thing I do is I take the dog to chase the geese because he does need more work than what the golf course can provide.
Okay.
So.
Thanks, Jim.
So Volunteers Park, you don't maintain Volunteers Park?
Yeah, that's a township
That's our park.
Okay.
park. Yeah.
But it's school board property, right?
They lease it to us.
Well, we lease it.
We lease it for
Lease it right
$1 a
now,
year.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought there was 38 park and recreational facilities. Is there ones that are not developed yet that we have on the rolls?
Yeah, we have Kentwood Park is not developed. Littleton Park is not developed. There's a few of them that are not. That's why I said 31 developed parks. The other ones, they are parks by name, but they're not developed yet.
So how many do you think we have developed right now?
About 31.
Okay, but undeveloped, we have how many that would be added on to if we were to develop those parks?
7 more.
If we were
said we had
developed
38.
all of them, I
Seven
think you
more.
said 38 of them.
Seven more.
Yeah, about there.
Okay, 6, 7 more, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Puso, seconded by Mr. Valori. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Again, please state your name, address, sign in. You'll be given 3 minutes.
How are you? Good.
Roy Massmer, 10 Drumlin Drive. Just a few things, but to remind everybody, right, Mayor? May 1st is the Mayor's Trophy game? Yes. Yeah, 7 o'clock. I hope your first pitch is better than it was at Parsippany-Troy West. Oh, that's right, that's right. 6 inches. I just want to say, you know, I've run a number of tournaments in this town over the years, and I get through the state pretty good from Bergen County down to Camp May. And a lot of people I run into comment about Parsippany, and I've mentioned this before, about our parks. And the men that, and the women that Jim leads, they do an excellent job. Very good job. Next thing, Jim, you know what I'm concerned about your department now? I know over the last 5 or 6 years, you've had a lot more of a workload, you know, the additional parks. Is your staff been the same, or have you increased the staff? Not just this year, but like say the last couple of years.
We haven't increased full-timers. That's where we use our seasonal employees.
Okay.
We were able to increase our seasonal employees by 2 or 3 over the last, it was 2 years, 3 years.
Okay. No, because everything's running so well. I know this isn't really a germane question to tonight because it's been done for a number of years. It upset me when I saw it done because when Joe Generone Sr. was here in Jim's position, I had asked him about Walsh Fields, which is at the top of Walsh Fields. You know I don't call it that name. And that parking lot's been paved. And last night, or Tuesday night, Mayor, Ed Snickus was talking about water retention and recharge. Why did we ever pave that? I've always wanted to ask you this.
Everything at the Generone Park, that was probably one of the first recharge basins built in the state. When we built that park, the DEP said we had to not allow any water off of the facility. So we didn't.
Right.
They built the park with the retention basins or recharge basins both in the front and the back. We put down millings.
Okay, maybe I'm explaining. I said the parking lot was paved, though.
Yes.
A couple of years ago. Are you
Yes.
getting to that?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, the millings, once they knit and they get tight, it makes it almost like you have a parking lot there now. So we were having issues between potholes and certain issues like that. We paved it, and none of the water, all of the water that goes from the site goes into the recharge basins, and we have not had any issues with it.
Okay. I know this is something that Brian and I have spoken about. Maybe it's Joe's department. And I know he kicked me in the butt if he heard me say this again. But I would love to see one of the basketball courts dedicated to Dick Schlinger's name. That man has done an unbelievable job with the girls' basketball team over the years. Brought one to a state championship because of the young girls. And if anybody was here, I'm sure Mike was, at his retirement party, I don't think any employee's ever had people come out like Dick Schlinger had that night. I wanted to inject that tonight. And again, I know it's probably more Joe's job. Talk about capital improvements. Because I'm going to say this to the Board of
30 seconds.
Shoot. The longevity of turf fields. Are they living up to what the specs were originally?
Yes.
Okay. And what is that, 5 years, 6 years?
They say they're 8 to 10. Right now, Generone Park is...
Well, the first one was Smith, though.
No.
Oh, no, that's
No,
right.
the first one was
Generone
the first
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
Veterans
Yeah,
was the first one.
Veterans.
That was built in 2003,
Right.
2004. Hurricane Irene took care of that.
Right.
Generone Park was built about 2004, 2005, and it's still going. It's still very viable. We do have a machine which we sweep it regularly now. We went and bought a used or a demoed machine, which saved us about $9,000, but it gives us the ability to do the fields like we would if we had to hire somebody to
Because
come
they're
in.
in good shape. They're in good shape. Last question. Mayor, I brought this up before. And that park up at Mountain Way, I'm up there a lot. As you know, Jim, you and I talk. It's a great park. Is there any chance, capital improvements, we can do the sheep farm the same way for the people on that side of town? volleyball court, basketball court, the playground equipment, because it really is. I've said that over the years, and nothing's been said to me, or. Yeah. Would you be? in
We
favor
do
of that?
have, we do have a conceptual plan for the sheep farm, which, but again, certain things come up in front of it, so.
That's a sheet.
Can you share that conceptual plan with us?
Where's Nick's?
I know, Nick's got it on.
Yeah, I could give it to the mayor.
I just have
Nobody knows me?
one question, real quick, because I know we're kind of cut for time. The dog park that's on South Beverwick Road,
Cameron.
Cameron, do we maintain that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, the only thing that I had heard in the past, I guess the gate on there,
We fixed it.
Perfect.
Bottom of the gate was broken or snapped off. Yeah, we brought it back, we welded it, put it back on.
great,
Yeah,
thank
we
you
don't-
very
We don't want
much.
anybody getting hurt.
That's all I have.
Sign in again. Just got to sign in once, but then you're done.
Jim, if you could just address all the questions at the end. so this
Nick
way-
Homiak, I'd just like to make a quick suggestion. I think a lot of parks might be better off not developed because nature has a way of, providing a form of recreation, and it's would be a minimum impact, hopefully. I talk about this with Mr. Snyder all the time. We have a labor force that comes here in the summer. I think it's a slave labor force and it's misused. It's from the Clean Communities funds. They waste their time. They do a minimum, supposedly. We have the Rockaway River cleanup, and if it wasn't for that team, I don't think anybody would be there. But the thing is, I think they should be utilized with the Parks Department because the money, the litter tax and all that goes for this program is supposed to be for litter abatement, not for enabling ordinances that have no obligation. So when they're up there slaving away on North Beverwick emptying garbage cans, it means that the ordinances aren't being enforced, and they could be in other places doing more positive things. I believe working with the Parks Department and taking some of our landscapes clean. And is there any way that the river-sensitive areas anywhere in the town are included in the parks realm of responsibility for, same thing, litter abatements? Is that part of? Are they sort of in a vacuum, like the Greenbank Road, the Knoll, all them areas that are? They go through the golf course and the Lenape Park down there, but it doesn't seem like the areas are maintained as far as keeping up with the abuse from the litter and the consumption. And did I have one more thing here? Blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, in the beginning of your conversation, you mentioned something about a $1.2 million. Is that, and I believe it's to do with the artificial turf. Is that in addition to the $2.2 million that was supposedly the Board of Education got already for new artificial turf?
30 seconds.
Installation? And have you incurred any disposable cost yet from the artificial turf? Because the way I understand it, that's expensive when you want to get rid of it. And I'll leave it at that.
Just real quick, you're talking about two different things with the field.
The-
You're talking
the-
about the Board of Ed
Yeah, it's
versus
separate.
Smith Field, two total different projects.
Yeah, different projects.
Okay.
The two high school fields have nothing to
His
do with what we're
department, sometimes I see these guys all over the place, so.
They don't
different
maintain
projects.
any
Wind up.
Yeah.
The turf fields are the Board of Ed. The cost to dispose of the turf, the only one that we had was veterans. And really, some of that actually went to the two little leagues. They used it for their pitching, or their batting cages. We were able to, when they cut it long enough, and we were able to load it on a vehicle or one of their vehicles, and they actually have it in their, I think it's their batting and pitching cages right now. So it's recycled. It's recycled. If you want it, you got to have the means to move it.
Just to follow up on the thing with the rain gardens, this is what Julie's put together. You have a couple of copies here. You want to pass them down? I guess it's on May 14th at 7 to 7:45. There'll be a question and answer with regard to the rain gardens at May 14th. Yeah, there's some more here. Okay. So she's done a great job in putting this together, and she was able to get an expert, Pat Rector, environmental and resource management agent from Rutgers, to speak to it. So we're actually bringing out someone that knows about the rain gardens. And one of the other things with regard to the properties that he's maintaining that were down in that area, I think 3 of them we said we'd keep in-house because of the fact that they help you get access to other parts of the property. If you just want to just talk to those 2. Great.
There's 2 or 3 properties down the end. I believe it's Hiawatha Boulevard, which gives us access to the river. We would keep them and maintain them just because we need that access to get in and out of the river. The rest of it, we could do the rain gardens. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, can you expand upon Mr. Horniak's question about the Clean Community Fund?
I'm sorry, I was making, okay, with regard to,
I believe Mr. Horniak asked for the Clean Community Fund. The labor that comes is under a grant possibly, and can they be utilized for other things than the cleaning of the Rockaway River?
no. No, I don't think we have enough time, but we will address that. We'll make sure we address that at a regular meeting, if that's okay.
If you can speak to Mr. Horniak.
Yes,
about it.
absolutely. Thank you.
Hi, Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. Jim, I just have one question. I'm not even sure how to phrase it. It's just something I've been curious about for the last few years. It's my understanding that different departments will clearly help out other departments if in manpower and whatnot. But is forestry ever working? Your forestry guys ever do any work up at the Knoll Country Club, and maybe vice versa?
Is that your only question?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay,
it.
all right. Yeah, the Parks Department, Parks and Forestry Department does send our tree guys up to do tree work. We have the equipment, we have the experienced men, so if there's a tree, obviously, that they can't tackle themselves, we will go up, get it on the ground for them, and then they will chip it up and dispose of it. The rest of it is grass cutting, stuff like that, which they can handle themselves.
Plus, it's different grass cut.
Yeah. Yep.
Jim, what percentage of the time would you guess is spent on other utilities such as the Knoll from your department?
I couldn't guess at that answer.
Okay, because I'm just looking at the current amount percent that's allocated, and I see 0 for the golf in many areas. I see the maintenance and grounds supervisor an allocation of 5%.
Yeah, there is some allocation out there for the golf course. And if there is something special, then we do charge it directly,
Okay.
okay? But
As,
there is $13,000 out there in the forestry.
Okay, and as CMFO, do you feel that the proper allocation for golf is made?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
And as I said, when Ann does do a finance, she'll talk about allocations and how we really took a real hard look at them, and she will talk to them in particular. Thank you.
This time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing on
Make a
this.
motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we'll be moving on to recreation, number 180. Mr. Plesha?
Great
Thank you,
job.
Jim.
Thank
Keep
you.
the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
How we doing tonight, everybody?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Joe, I only had one question on.
Yeah, I was going to say, otherwise I start
Line
grinding.
eight.
Like last
Item,
year, I ended up spending a half
this-
hour.
On 543, software maintenance contract, I just see last year, it was about 3,600 less that we paid from what we budgeted, and then we budgeted the same.
Yeah, it's just because of the way the payments worked out from when we switched to the new system the year before. The training portion took longer, so that the money we had paid them, they didn't actually apply to that first quarter. They applied it into the next year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now that we're in a full cycle, we'll use up just about every penny of that because it's pretty much a fixed cost.
Thank you. I also would like to echo, I see your budget request is the same from last year, so
Yeah, move stuff around, but we try to stick within it.
thank you.
Great job, Joe.
Thank you.
If I'm correct, nothing under capital? Or-
No, I don't have capital.
Okay.
I asked Joe to address an issue that could have been a large
Okay.
capital project, but we.
Yeah, we're going to skip swimming lessons, as you talked about. The pool is in need of repair. So Jim's department, I guess over time now will come up with a plan whether or not they're going to refurb that place or not. But at this point, we're not going to do any swim lessons up there anymore. We posted a note early in the season already, so people can look elsewhere. But there's grounding issues, there's water issues, there's leakage. So we're just going to.
I just want to note, we also have the Lake Hiawatha Swim Club. You know, we don't
Yeah,
want to
we
be in
direct people there all the time. We actually reached out to Lake Hiawatha, and I
they want.
asked them if they wanted to come to some agreement with us or a memorandum of understanding where they can run lessons. We'd send people there.
Okay.
We'd have our instructors run lessons there. They're not interested.
Really?
Okay.
They
Well,
physically
you
just.
tried, you put it
Yeah.
out there.
Just
I
put it out
tried
there.
my hardest, thinking it would bring them more memberships.
Yes, right.
But yeah, no, they shot me down.
Yeah.
I talked to a couple of them that I've known for years through Little League, and they really don't want to be bothered with it.
For a future budget, though, next year or whatever, could we get some idea? I understand the pipes are leaking under the ground even, so you're talking about, it's not just, because I asked the question, why can't you just put a liner in the concrete?
Yeah,
Stop the
that would be
leaks, but-
Jim's.
but the
angle.
leaks-
No, we did discuss that.
The leaks of the pipes.
We would have to actually, we'd have to do that whole, we'd
Rip-
dig the
rip it
cement
out.
down and
So
everything.
what are we
that's all.
talking about in capital expenditures if we did
Yeah,
that?
when we can discuss, it would cost. We don't even know. We haven't even had anybody out there estimate it yet.
Is that pool made of concrete or concrete?
It's old-fashioned concrete. It's
Old-fashioned
not
concrete.
sprayed. It's,
Yeah, and it's 75 years old.
yeah.
That's a long time.
There's literally iron pipes coming out of the pool, so everything's just
Yeah.
rotting.
Right.
All my kids went
For
through
the, for the future, though, I mean, we're not gonna do it in this budget, but for the future, maybe we could look at a capital expenditure estimate of what it would be. And then,
That's always a possibility. As Joe said, we did try to look at other sources, not only there, but other places. And I just want to just say, there's no saving this, I think we all are in agreement. And then the membership went down and down and down.
Yeah.
As I said to Joe and Jim and the mayor when I went out there, I would dry off and not go in the changing rooms and go home. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's
the building
bad.
is run down,
It's
yeah.
bad.
You gotta really do a cost analysis.
It's shot. I mean, it got its 75 years. It did well. It would have been in
Yeah.
a nice location, but and it's a big expense. And I think, as you said, the membership has.
Yeah,
People less and less are going.
You're getting less and less people doing it, and it's really only an 8-week
It's
season.
not worth putting it in.
Yeah.
So how much do you want to dump into something you're only going to really
Yeah,
use
we
8
have
weeks
to do a
of a
cost
year?
benefit analysis
Yeah.
before you dump money into it.
YMCA people are going there for
So,
lessons. Yes.
so from my end, we're adding other programs to make up for it.
Okay,
Thank you, Joe.
thanks.
All right, at this time, I entertain a motion to open up public hearing on Division 180.
Make a motion.
180 only. Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, see no one come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on
Make a
Division
motion.
180. Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And for the
Thank you very much.
My little spreadsheet that you guys always make. I made a nice big one, just in case.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
No, let him open it up because he asked me.
He did, he opened it. We saw it.
He asked me in the hallway today. He says, "Can I bring that?" I said, "Yeah, bring that."
Just need it extended so we can read it from up here.
And I don't think this
Okay, at this time.
I want to say thank you. I'm sorry, Paul.
No.
I want to say thank you. Just as we did say with Jim, Joe's budget was something that Ann and I really enjoyed going through because he had all the answers. He thinks like we think about getting some things and paying for certain things and keeping the budget the way
No,
it
he's
is.
always,
Nice job.
I've
Good.
found he's always thinking ahead.
Oh, he is. I think you mean that nice, right?
No, I do. No, I do.
No, I'm like-
I do.
Thank you. We added that.
I think years ago, though, I did ask him if he could use a smart car
smart
instead
car.
of a.
We were talking about purchasing a car. They wanted to use.
The smart car.
Did you think you'd be
Okay.
that quick?
Nice job.
All right, thank you.
Keep
Thank
up
you.
the good
Thank you,
work.
guys.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, at this time, we'll move on to public buildings. Mr. Hardy?
Mr. Hardy. We're sticking by a great schedule here.
This one caught it up.
That's it. Mr. Hardy, don't let us down. Stick to your schedule. No pressure.
Okay, first we'll do public buildings, maintenance, Division 140, number 140.
I'm going to ask, because this was the biggest thing, and we've already touched on it. Councilman Peluso talked about diesel fuel. We all know, we can see the gas rising and setting, and I know that Ann and Mike and a few others really drilled down on these numbers, so we would give a fair thing. One of the things we just want to keep, I know it's the governor is looking at a tax, for I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, because of his other aspirations, but it's something you have to just put it on aside. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike to talk about how you came to some kind of taking into consideration that the gas, is coming down in price, but not to go so low that, we put ourselves in harm's way. So if you want to address how you came to some of your thought process on that. I thought that was a big number to tackle. Thank you.
Yeah, as we've discussed in the past, this is a tough number if we do run out. There was one year, somewhere about 10 years ago, where former administration cut this thing and we literally ran out last week of September. So it's a tough call, but we try to look at, though, what the federal price is going to be for the year. In addition, we're in co-ops, so we pay a little, about 30 cents less than what you see on the pumps. We also reach out to the gas companies and the diesel companies themselves. They usually just caution go a little higher just to make sure if you have some kind of world event, it usually triggers, that year we had Irene, I think was the year we ran out that year. But anyway, we, the other thing is I was actually looking at, Ellen made a good point. This is a tough thing if you go down too much in one year. We were trying to lower this as much as we could. But they're already projecting next year to be 35 cents a gallon more. So these numbers are ballpark. You're looking at the federal numbers. We're a little bit under. We didn't go as high as what the gas companies told us, but we were really trying to cut this. But then if this is going to go up next year, another 35 cents a gallon, makes it that much tougher to then jump the following year. So, we just kept going back and forth. We, originally when we submitted the budget, the numbers for the first 9 months of the year when we were doing this back in the fall were so much higher, and it really came down at the last quarter, really dropped off the charts. Typically what happens with the gas budget is, I know it's like a joke we have, but once we hit Memorial Day and people are going on vacation, the prices just seem to escalate. As soon as we get our budget done, it seems like, oh boy, here we go again. So then you're in a panic mode. Once we get back into the fall, they usually kind of stabilize again. So, but again, we looked at the federal numbers, what they're talking, the average for consumer for the country. We're a little bit under that. Again, the gas companies told us to go a little higher, but I think we're good. But again, next year, they're talking, these numbers are going to go up 35 cents a gallon from this year. So it's really it's a tough call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the,
Michael, if you're going to err, all right, wouldn't it be better to err on the side of having a little bit too much than a little too little, right? So you erred on the safe side?
yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good.
But I would agree. Cutting a budget is just as bad as inflating a budget. Oh, I'm sorry.
If you,
I was making a point that cutting too much is just as bad as putting in too much, you know.
Yeah.
But I think we've reached an accord on this number.
It's on tap.
Mr. Hardy, good evening. I just have a question. We talked about electricity. I just want to, we talked about gasoline, but I want to touch upon electricity.
Sure.
We just passed an ordinance for, purchasing electricity, and we're trying to get lower energy costs.
Okay.
I see that we're budgeting high, in compared to the 2014 adopted budget. Should we be budgeting a little bit lower because we're anticipating the cost savings?
No, you know what,
I know you probably prepared this before we just passed the ordinance, but
yeah, but it's all in the ballpark. It's kind of, this electric account is covering several buildings, and
Right.
also depends on what happens with the weather. But we've been in that, basically doing this thing to purchase the electricity. We're saving roughly about, last year, about $11,000 a month. But that's everybody's electric. But ever since we've been doing this, we've literally, I don't know, I think way back, I guess it was 2006, Jasmine got us into that. We were purchasing the electric, and that's ever since we started doing that, there was also that South Jersey co-op she got us into.
Yes.
We've only saved money. I mean, I actually do it at my house too now, just because, on my own, just because it's actually
Right.
like, whoa, every year we're going lower. But it's kind of stabilized since we started doing, the competitively going out for the bid instead of just going with JCP&L.
so there could be some more savings. We're just budgeting a little bit high, maybe?
Yeah, it's, like I said, it dances a little bit depending on
Yep.
what happens. Some of it is affected by the weather and the storms, and if the
Right.
buildings are open, and
I also want to touch upon Object Code 260 and 261. Can you just give me a brief explanation about the maintenance and the upgrades? I know we had discussed as a council our concerns about security of servers and increasing our technology in order to protect our systems.
Okay.
I didn't see that anywhere in the budget, but I do see this coming up right now. And
yeah, we actually pay, the 260 account is for all the systems Dave Miller has in place to protect the town.
okay,
It also, sometimes we charge, in addition to our account, Knoll Water and Sewer, also their 260s accounts get charged a portion too. 35% gets charged to my account, 25% gets charged to, I think, Water, Sewer, and the Knoll gets charged like 5%. But and this also, if somebody's computer were to just die, we'll actually go in and replace a computer. We call it the breakdown. We hit the
Right.
breakdown where everybody, basically, if it's somebody in the tax office, their department technically could be charged because they work for the benefit of all the utilities as well. But Dave's got all the firewalls and all that stuff is paid through this account. 261, he actually, this is like the first year, he didn't actually hit it this year, which is rare, but that's more for a new purchase, something, we don't budget a lot there, it's only $1,000. He wanted to just keep it the same because it was rare that we actually didn't even hit that account this year. Usually there's a few things charged there and we usually exhaust most of it, but
so is there any plans for upgrading any of our systems? I
I'll
know
just talk a
Edmonds-
little bit, really. I'm speaking for Dave. I think Miller, who does a great job. I have some experience in this kind of stuff, so I'll try to talk. He did upgrade all the servers this year and all of the firewalls just recently, and the mail server. Okay, we have many servers that run here and in the other buildings, but this is mainly for, most of that is in here with the file servers. Also, he did replace, as you know, the finance file server and the firewalls. You can't get out. I'm telling you, he's got it locked up tight. I give him a lot of credit for that, so I just want to mention that. Included in there is our ABRA software, which is the attendance, which hasn't been upgraded yet, so some of that will happen in here. But he's constantly doing, I have to give him a lot of credit, so. Does that answer, I think?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
And if you do look again at the bottom line, which we have a tendency to do, the adopted budget was 1,185,000, and now we're talking about 1,022,000. So we did look at it, and in deference to you, Mike, that's how it'll balance out a little bit maybe higher on the electric, a little bit lower on the gas, but we're going to do our darndest to live within that means, and we did reach a comfort level, and it did not happen in one day. It was lots of discussion. It was a lot of discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion, to open up the public hearing on
Make a motion.
Division 140.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, see no one come forward. Entertain a motion to close the public
Make a
hearing.
motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
Thank you.
You want street lighting?
No.
I looked at the numbers. There's
Yeah.
no-
I know issues with that.
Yeah.
Didn't want to say.
It's self-explanatory.
It is,
So-
it is.
Nothing capital, right?
No.
No.
You didn't put the espresso machine in?
Very disappointed about that.
Okay, thank you.
No, I went.
Thank you.
Thank you
Alrighty.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
At
Hart.
this time, entertain a motion to take a 5-minute break.
That'd be great.
I'll second if you need
All
it.
right. Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We're recording, we're on.
Make a motion to reconvene into open session.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Stanton, seconded by Mr. Valori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
As you are waiting on the presentation from the department, what we'll do is, if you could change those sheets. Mayor, do you want to address what happened, that the sheet didn't get to,
Oh, yeah, the sheet that you're going to get.
they have it now, the
Salary sheet.
personnel one.
I didn't have an opportunity to look it over, so the ones that you received are the ones I never looked over, and I made adjustments to the sheets you have now.
Okay, great.
That's basically what happened.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Just happens, there's a lot of moving papers,
Oh, no,
a
absolutely.
lot of departments,
I see you've been working with us since 2000.
okay?
Good. Okay, great.
Of the changes? Oh,
It's in there.
it's in there. It should be in it. The sheet that's in there was the change sheet. Yes. Yeah. I did ask for that to go in there to make sure.
So these things we got are now.
Okay. I turn it over to the council president.
Okay, just look at my new chart here. Okay, at this time, we'll be going over Department of Human Services. Mrs. Picone,
Yes.
Acting Director.
Yes. Hello, good evening.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes. My name is Michelle Picone. I've recently, February 18th, been appointed Acting Director and also / REHS, so I'm still an inspector as well. And I was appointed February 18th, so nice to be here.
Welcome.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
She only resigned twice.
That's right. Well, that's today.
But I will say, we did have that issue with the changes, and when the mayor called, I want to go on record as saying that Michelle was actually off today, and I said, "Can you be in my office by 8:30 a.m.?" She was there before 8:30, so that's the kind of folks you got.
Thanks. All right. So we're doing. Please. Yeah. Okay. I'm going through. This is division number 450. You said Office of Social Services.
Oh, we'll start 4:30.
Yeah, we're going to start with
Which one?
4:30, Office of
4:30.
Health.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Just have a quick question under 4:30, and it's health education. Just the reason why for 10,000 as compared to 5 in the past?
The increase is we're actually looking to run a couple of additional programs. It's not to actually pay the educator. It's the cost of supplies to run. We're looking to run 2 programs moving forward, if it is approved by the end of this year, in essence, to educate the merchants throughout the community. Yeah.
Thank you. Mike, I just have one quick question on 536, the cell phone. We only spent 837 last year. Do we?
Ready? This year, it will increase due to the additional staff we have. Also, there's more of us that are on call, and we just want to make it as accessible as, make them as accessible as possible. So that actually will increase this year.
Okay.
Last year we didn't due to the retirements. And
Would you like, Carlo, to highlight 1 or 2 things that that's in this budget of yours? And then they can ask other questions.
Okay. Real quick, thank you for your time. Just to, obviously, you're well aware that we're looking to kind of revitalize and revamp the division due to some current retirements. We're actually looking to revamp staff. We've hired a new registered environmental health specialist, which started last month. She's been great. We're in the process of hiring another one. So hopefully within the next month or so, we should be almost at full staff from the environmental division component. Moving forward, we will continue to assess the nursing division as well. Well, not division, our nurses, and that might be something that we're going to be focused on aggressively pretty soon. No capital. Actually, no, I think we do. We have, well, you know what, it's under human services, so it's, yeah. No, correct. And I actually, for the record, I'm a part of the interlocal shared services agreement through East Hanover Township. We've had that agreement now going on 5 years. With the council actually approved another 4 years moving forward, so we're looking to have a continue our fruitful relationship together. So, thank you.
Council President, how do you want to handle this? You want to have all 3 finish their thing and then have, I mean, you guys, folks, ask questions, but what do you want to do?
I know.
We have a question to do salaries, hold off, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
Reference to that, if it's reference to salaries and stuff, hold off on
Yeah,
that.
no, it depends. If you want to talk about the title, we'd be okay. We can talk a little bit about that if you want to ask the question.
It's not, well, I don't know if this is something that you want us to address now. Or if you have somebody you have a new employee, and you have someone that's been here for quite a while, and they're now pretty much making the same. Is that a question for now, or is that a question for later on?
That's actually
For the same job title?
Yes. Obviously, we can't speak in specifics. What we've done strategically is because we manage the shelters regarding our emergency planning. We had to look with somebody that pretty much had additional qualifications. CDL was the key, and on that, we felt that salary, the little bit of the increase was warranted. We actually have, and I'm trying to think which one we're talking about here, though, and we can't mention names.
We can't mention name, but we can probably mention title.
Nah, the thing is, because it's so limited, there's only a small handful. I think if we mention the one, and I know we're on the record, but maybe we can discuss it off the record and bring it back.
Specifically, maybe who you're talking
Do you have
about.
it?
Yeah.
You have it in front
I
of
think
you?
the best part of Valor is to wait till we get to our, and then
Sure.
when we go into because of notices and things of that nature, which we
Yeah.
don't need to do, we'll address it. And in fact, by raising it, there's another one that's got to have a similar explanation. But
Yeah.
we will work.
Yeah.
We will work with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Got it?
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. No other questions? We'll move on to 450.
Okay, 450?
All right, that's
Or we're going to need
the
questions.
Office of Social Services.
Yes, that would be social services.
Okay. All right, I'm Jill Pacone, as I said before, and the Office of Social Services is very active right now. We have a lot of people calling with different issues within the township, some losing their place of living. They call with many, many different types of issues, senior citizens, disabled people. The number of people that use the senior center, seniors, on a daily basis is sometimes 200 to 300 people. Some people just come and sleep. Some people just come to be with other people. Some people come to get the lunch, the free lunch if they cannot afford it. It's an extremely useful resource in the community. And we're down. Well, slightly. This is up slightly. It's up, it's up slightly because I'm going to explain number 462, which has gone up. It's cultural fairs, bus trips, and activities. I believe that's the only item that has gone up because I'd like to get computers for the senior citizens in the senior center. Many of them ask. We used to have one, but it was so outdated we had to get rid of it. I'd like to set up possibly 3 computer stations for them to print out forms to get information on benefits. And also we'd like to perhaps have, they used to have 4 bus trips that we would provide for them. Now they're down to 1, so I'd like to perhaps add 1 maybe for the seniors who are disabled. I got a request from a senior who is unable to go on the bus trip that the able-bodied seniors go on. And so I'm trying to organize a situation where he can come as well. He's wheelchair-bound, and he feels left out. So that's why that number 462 cultural affairs, that $3,500 put in there is going to help me with the computers and an extra bus for this gentleman to go on. Okay.
Thank you.
Have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, move on to ambulance services, 452.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
And I think a lot was said by this report. This
That was very
is a good
helpful.
this is a good document that you gave. So that covers a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can step away. if you want.
Remember this last year? Thank you.
Last time to work out the answers to questions right out of the gate. So
Dean, do you have a slide presentation today?
no. I held off on that with the respect to time. So
Thank you very much.
stuff special to you. Just on to the year in review.
Okay. I definitely have a question. I know we're not going to address budgets, but I am going to, without bringing up people's names, tell you I'm looking at a lot of numbers here, and then next to it says proposed increase of 2%, and then total 2015 salary way above the numbers that are in there. And I mean astronomical numbers compared to a 2%. Some as high as 40. So I guess you don't want that addressed now, but there's, I mean, minimum I
Yes.
see 30%, 40%, 20%, 20%.
Right, and that will be addressed on our third meeting in more detail as we describe how we can broach that. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
So you could do your highlight your O&E.
All right, thank you guys very much as always for your time. Try to talk into the microphone here if I can get it at the right level. There's a couple things I'm sure everybody's looking at in the O&E side of things, with specifically Object Code 212 regarding supplies and fleet maintenance. What I had asked when we came in this year for the first round of budget discussions was that we consider bringing some of those numbers up and breaking them down just to highlight where that money would be going, because we noticed with end of 2014 just some kind of close shortfalls when it came to having the proper funding to establish issuing protective gear to new personnel, as well as the upkeep of that gear. And as excuse me, as you guys know, we do the Narcan program now. We've done the epinephrine auto-injector program for about 7 years since it's been around, and those things do get costly because even if you don't use them, they still have a shelf life and have to be replaced in terms of their expiration date. So we did ask that be kind of broken out a little more to get that total request for a change to $45,000. And then regarding the fleet maintenance increase request, and it's not reflected here, but should be added into note, the other two vehicles, the 2012 ambulance and the 2012 Tahoe, are obviously at the point of where they're coming out of warranty as well. So I felt that in an effort to plan for the future and not be behind, we should include them in our fleet maintenance budget for the need for upkeep on that.
Looking at what you provided us, I know in the past this discussion's come up with the amount of calls that you guys get to Greystone and the amount of time that is spent on those calls.
Right.
I mean, I know it's last year 150. Are those pretty much staying consistent about that amount of calls?
We're still in the ballpark with the Greystone responses. I think that's across the board. Without knowing specific numbers for the calls that the ambulance squad responds to, I would say our Greystone volume stays pretty much on a pretty close even keel with responding to the 20 cottages that they have that are kind of supposed to be like that extended program, as well as to the facility itself. Greystone has been calling Atlantic more, but the flip side is because Atlantic is very spread apart from what we can see in terms of where they have their units. A lot of times, even if Greystone calls Atlantic ambulances dispatch is calling back to the town, and we're getting sent anyway. So I don't really know that there's anything we're ever going to be able to do about Greystone except continue to respond there. And if we have specific situations, if the ambulance is delayed, we address that issue with their staff if the ambulance is delayed more than an acceptable time. The only hiccups we've been having, honestly, lately with delays there is Human Services Police Dispatch has transitioned to State Police, so they've had some growing pains with that, so we've had to wait for an escort into the building a few times, but that seems to be working itself out, and that is something that's kind of beyond our control. But
Quick question. Do we
yes.
get any compensation back from the state at all? Or
I don't think we do.
no, I mean, the patient receives a bill, and most of the patients in there have either Medicare or Medicaid, so depending on what their emergency was and what their insurance is, dictates what the reimbursement is. But there's no subsidy or anything like that from the state of New Jersey for going there.
So it's almost like a shared service we're really doing with them.
You can always ask the state. Yeah.
Okay, just a lot of responses up there.
There always is, yes, absolutely.
You still don't have any place to put those ambulances?
I was going to ask that next. Yeah.
Well, the one property that we were considering didn't really work out, but we are looking at some property in Parsippany that we own where we could actually build a facility, and probably we'll build it cheaper than we would have if we purchased that property. So,
Is it in capital for this year?
Yeah, there is capital.
no, is it in
For a new
capital?
building?
No, for a building.
No, before.
No, there is nothing in capital for it. I guess what we could.
These ambulances running during the winter around the
I know,
clock
it's around the
because they
clock.
don't have any place to put them.
Well, there's two.
And the replacement costs,
Well, actually, this gentleman has found a place to put them, so, I mean, or at least one. You want to address the ambulance where it is?
EMS2, which is at the Powder Mill Firehouse Monday through Friday, they have made arrangements for us, especially during the winter, during the cold times. They were kind enough to rearrange the fire apparatus so the ambulance could be inside.
Oh, that's great.
We kind of did a trial period to see if it would work, because we also have to obviously respect fire operations to make sure we're not interfering with that. So for the majority of the winter, during the storms especially, we were able to keep that ambulance inside. I mean, that's only one of 4, I understand that, but we figured it was better than nothing at that time.
And it was a beginning, and because we had some concerns with trying to find a location and having some difficulty with the property that didn't work out for us, it was actually, what was the event that caused you to say, hey, there was some event that happened, and you went...
The blizzard, that wasn't, thankfully, obviously. We did put EMS2 up, which is the unit that covers that section of town during the weekdays, Monday through Friday. We did leave EMS2 up overnight to cover that side of the town as primary, and obviously both 65 and 66 had crews in town ready to go as well. Kind of a collective plan to back each other up, but we thought at that point, or at least I did after attending the meeting in the morning, that it would be a wise idea to keep an ambulance up there in Powder Mill. So we had the ambulance with 4-wheel drive up there, and both squads had, their areas well covered as well. And one of the things I had asked the fire department is if they would at least just consider for that night if they could shuffle the apparatus around to see if the ambulance would fit, because it was supposed to be pretty bad out. And that it did. So for the next couple of months, because it remained cold and stuff, they let us keep the ambulance inside.
That's great.
Our area where the ambulance was probably the cleanest part of the bay, because obviously we were good neighbors with
Good neighbors.
So.
But we do have some property we are looking at, and when I find out exactly which one it is, I can come back to the council with it.
Well, we were at a meeting that's on Centerton Drive a while back.
What drive?
Centerton Drive. One of the guys there that was just, I guess, opening the doors for us or closing the doors, said, we could probably work something out over here on this building. So maybe just check with them and see if there's something there that could be worked out.
Oh, we'll do that.
And then if it's okay to kind of shift gears to the capital page.
Where would that be, because it's not listed on it?
Yeah, it's in capital.
No,
It's
numbers not
everything
listed.
capital.
Yeah, it's in
9 of 9.
If you look.
So under capital, I'm looking at under 452 ambulance services, and then first letter A, a $200,000.
Yes.
I'll get there.
Yeah, it's all capital now, put it together, put everything in capital, so you just go to the capital tab, and then put a nice sheet in front there.
Yeah, we're Division 452.
We got it.
You got it?
Not enough.
So honestly, we put the request in possibly to consider capital for another new ambulance. There's a theory behind it, though, because obviously, even if it can be approved, it's not something that's going to be here right away. From obviously, as you folks know, once the budget is approved, there also is a whole process with Mr. Hardy once he can get it to go to bid award, and then build time and stuff. So I mean, even as we speak tonight, even if this was to be approved, and obviously tonight's not a night to say yay or nay, definitely, but we're still looking at easily 14 to 16 months before the vehicle would even be here, and then has to get outfitted to get on the road. So one of the things that I've looked at over the last couple of years, and I think that kind of reflects back to also in the fleet maintenance increase, is that the ambulances ultimately end up kind of exceeding their useful lifetime in terms of even a good trade-in value, because we literally run them till the very end, because just by the nature of the time when we would come to request the money for it, obviously has the process it needs to go through, of course. And then by the time the next vehicle gets here, we've dumped a lot of money into that other vehicle that it's theoretically replacing to keep it on the road. And, it's probably no much more for the town than going to an auction. Maybe a maintenance contractor buys it or something as his work vehicle. So our thought is if we can kind of start to get out ahead of this with the vehicles, that might, ultimately, in the next couple of years, start to benefit the town.
How many years are we getting on a vehicle?
Our oldest vehicle right now is 9 years old, and it's still being used. But I mean, and that's the thing. Like the older the vehicle, the better it starts, because that's like the nature of everything, right? Everything runs better if it's older now. But everything else around it is the seats, the floor, and it's just trying to get out ahead of things.
And how many vehicles do you have?
4.
4. So this will be a replacement for that 9-year-old vehicle, is that what you're saying?
That would be the ultimate goal. I mean, we kind of assess things with Eric, our mechanic from Parks and Forestry. He's always actively involved when it comes to that stuff because, I mean, he knows the repair side of things inside and out with the
That
stuff.
mechanic is worth his weight in gold.
He is, absolutely. He absolutely is.
A question for you would be, okay, that's 9 years old, but if that was housed properly in a building, how much life do you think it would have then?
That's, I think from I'll say the look perspective, because I'll admit it doesn't look too pretty in terms of the paint fading and different wear and tear like that. I think that absolutely, would make a difference. But one of the things with having a building that would help with a drainage system in it and stuff like that is our challenge, honestly, and the firehouse up at Powder Mill has kind of mitigated this because we were able to rotate the units through if need be. We have nowhere to hose the trucks off to get the salt and stuff off of them because we try to get into Parks and Forestry, but they also have to take care of their equipment, and we also can't have the ambulances tied up, and whatnot. So allowing us to do some daily maintenance of hosing the vehicle off, keeping it clean, hosing off the undercarriage would make things easier. So in the end, just certain things like getting the salt off the vehicle, I think would offer some longevity. But I mean, we end up pretty busy during the day. So, I mean, there's always going to be miles and wear and tear on the vehicle, and we're always going to have a vehicle replacement plan in. So, I mean, I think it would help, not be a hindrance, to have a building.
If you had a structure that housed them all, would that cut down on the engine runtime?
I would cut down on the engine runtime overall, absolutely, and I think just the biggest important thing to always consider when we're looking at this to cut down on the engine runtime is having the station in the proper location.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing because
So-
right now a lot of our engine runtime is because we try to post the units so that the response times stay down.
Yeah, so the cost for, there probably could be a study where the cost for building a structure, so these have a permanent housing, and the engine runtime is increased so that we're saving more money, we have to buy ambulances less. There should be a crossover point where the building pays for itself.
Absolutely.
So a cost-benefit analysis to see if it's worthwhile, because we already discussed that we should have a building that houses these ambulances at the last budget session that we had last year. We thought really that there would be a building picked out by now that we could have gotten these ambulances housed. But how many years do you think that useful life would be if we did house a new ambulance?
I mean, in my opinion, based on the terrain that we drive and overall, and I think this would go for all 3 ambulance services within the town, and I don't want to speak for them, but I'm saying as a generalization, I think that because of how the budget process goes in that timeline we just discussed a couple minutes ago, I think that to do due diligence in the overall wear and tear on the vehicle, that we should try to plan that every vehicle with the intent of hopefully we could trade it in to make some money back on that to offset some of that cost, that we should be in terms of a vehicle in service date. So if a vehicle was to go in service June 1st, 2015, it's my view that we should be planning to replace that vehicle when it's going 5 into 6 years potentially, or 6 into 7, somewhere in that 5 to 7 range, because I think after that, that's when, yes, the engine might run and whatnot, but you have to remember the doors, you're in and out of the doors, we're in and out of compartments, the stretcher's in, the stretcher's out, the floor's got salt, the floor's got blood, then it's got bleach to clean the blood up. There's a lot of factors that go into that. And, I think that if we establish some type of protocol, if you will, or policy that, based on the date the vehicle goes in service, it's your expectation as the council, we're going to pay attention to that. And if that means that vehicle needs to be on deck for replacement, we're going to come to you and say, this is the vehicle, this is the date it went in service, and we feel that we need to request now with the intent of it coming back out of service within a year so it has some trade-in value and stuff like that.
What is the trade-in value right now that we're anticipating for the 9-year-old one? Not much, right?
I would say not much, and I don't want to speak out of turn with that, but I can tell you that if I was coming to buy that, I'd offer you probably a few dollars and drive it out of here. So.
Is there any way we can give it to another department, such as CERT or something, to work with?
What I'm thinking is, and we're trying to establish this, gov deals, you'll be surprised. One, it doesn't cost us anything to do the thing. It goes out, and there are people that are in the Midwest that would actually covet that. And when you go through gov deals, the 7% that they make, it's on the person who buys it. I had a situation where an ambulance in Mendham was pretty old, and they were happy to get it. They came out from the Midwest. They came all the way out and they drove it back and they were happy to have it. So there is that's in our area, but we're really going to pursue gov deals because it's a win-win. They bid on it. It becomes bidding wars. They use them in movies. They use them, like I said, in other departments. They're happy to get this equipment. And secondly, the cost of how gov deals makes money is put on that, and then they come and they have to pick it up. So all we need is make sure we have the good title. So we're really going to pursue that because, again, that gets to Rob's and all of you, but Rob and Lou like zero. So, again.
So the reality is that if we could, hopefully, one day, we could work something out and have them housed and put them through a cycling process like every so many years where we're going to have safety for everyone that obviously works there, and you're going to have ambulances that are at least going to be worth something if you try to trade them in, and you're keeping up with the time. So it's common sense.
And even from an operational standpoint, just with staff deployment and resource deployment overall, I mean, we have very good accommodations at the community center. I'm not complaining in any way. The fire department's been very gracious in accommodating us and working with us to keep that goal of, keeping the response times to Powder Mill and Shawangum and West Hanover and stuff like that, to a little, more acceptable number. But I mean, I still support the fact that besides the vehicle issue, we should look at it from a deployment, perspective of there's a reason the police department's right up here on Route 46, considering the geography that our officers have to cover. And I don't mean that being disrespectful. I'm just saying from the perspective of if, we're going to do this, we should make sure we do our due diligence with a good location.
Absolutely.
Dean, how would that affect our response times as well? I'm assuming it's going to improve our response times by adding another ambulance and replacing one? Could that?
Well, it's adding the physical vehicle versus adding units or unit timeframes and stuff. That's just two separate things. The ambulance is the equipment. The unit would be an actual unit that's in service. One of the things that I identified back in 2013 when I came to the mayor and we working with the Fire District 1 to put the ambulance up there was that our response times up there, even coming from right here, I mean, you're looking to get up to Shawangum, you're still looking, and I say moving lightly, I use that term lightly, you're still looking at least 12 to 14 minutes.
Easily.
With traffic. On the same hand, just with the fact that it can get busy and you can have critical calls where you do have to restock certain supplies, the District 1 firehouse on Powder Mill Road just seemed to be logical because it's not their main fire station. So when I spoke with the chief just to see if there would be an interest in further discussion, my thought was we don't interfere with fire operations there, but they have a place to go where they can use the restroom, they can clean the ambulance, we can leave basic supplies up there, which we do, and they have a place to catch up on paperwork and stuff like that versus having to switch with the other unit and come all the way back over to Lake Hiawatha, which is what we were initially doing. Because one of the things that has frustrated me for a long time is the response times to that side of town, and it is what it is with the geography. It's without getting a helicopter, that there's not many more things we can do than having the ambulance posted over there. So Monday through Friday, the EMS2, that's the truck that's over there. That crew comes in, they get their gear, they check their vehicle, and they go to that side of town, and the units do flip-flop if there's a need to, they cover each other, whatever the situation is, but that's, that was kind of the basis, at least when that second truck is in service, to have them over there.
And if I may add, one of the discussions that we have had, even if we were to build a facility to house them, we would still want to have an agreement down there in the Powder Mill area to have a ambulance stored there, as well as maybe having discussions with the county. Because the county's right there on Grand Avenue,
Structure for 4 of them.
Right, and the fact is, even if you were to house them in one area here, you're still going to have that time. You have to go over to Powder Mill.
Yes.
But if you have a ambulance there on call, it can handle it right away.
Staggered there, absolutely.
We should.
One of the things that did happen in 2014, and I did keep administration obviously updated with it. As some of you may or may not know, there was always I'll call it a handshake agreement with the Morris Minutemen that the county always called them to the police academy. So there was a situation there where the Minutemen were not available to respond for whatever reason. I don't know. Their response information is not my business. And when that was identified, the call went to Morristown for mutual aid, not to us, and our ambulance was available at the firehouse. But our patrol officer and the paramedics were there saying, hey, where's the ambulance? So after that came up, I did address that with the county, and the response matrix was changed that Parsippany is primary for there now because of that ambulance being up there. You know, that's only Monday through Friday during the day, but I felt that it was at least a start in the direction of, you know, it identifies the fact that we do have residents over there in a pretty significant size area. And to get to it is, you know, it could be time consuming coming from here depending on traffic situations, weather, et cetera.
We've had to have you up there a few times for some trainees as well.
I've asked this question almost every budget process. You list the number of miles that these ambulances have driven, but wouldn't a more effective measurement be an odometer? So it gives you engine runtime as opposed to just miles that it travels. How many times do you go someplace and the engine has to continue to run, okay, but you're not driving?
Right, so...
why don't you request
well, the Ford ambulances do have a feature to get into it to do that. In all honesty, the mileage end of things, because we record that on the patient care reports, I think that's why the mileage is such an easier...
I'm not saying don't have it, but to understand how many hours that engine's been running, it'd be nice to know that too, is how many hours have the engine been going?
Idling time, I guess.
I see that on police cars too. Police cars sitting there with the engine running, the lights going, he's conducting traffic around a construction site, you know, and the police car's running all day.
Right.
0 miles, but the engine's been running all day.
And that is obviously a challenge too that we do face, is that because even just on a call to leave the lights running, the heat or air conditioner on in the back, the vehicle's placed in a high idle, and so it's wear and tear.
I think it'd be nice to know how many hours the engine's been running.
Okay.
Regardless whether it's idling or miles, if it has to be replaced in 5 to 7 years, it has to be replaced. Unless you're asking for a standard that's different. It would not.
No, I mean a lot of places do it differently. You know, not differently than 5 to 7, but I'm saying in terms of their time frame. Some, you know, depending on their call volume, the geography, what they have. I think that, you know, with the plan of replacing a vehicle based on its date of in service and within 5 to 7 years of that, with the idea of when it's approaching year 5, that's when we come to the council to say we would like to replace this vehicle, with the intent that by it being into year 6, that's when it's actually getting replaced. I think that'd be something, again, that's just a suggestion. It's a basis to start to look at what the best practice would be.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to open up a public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If we could just ask you to answer any questions at the end, after the person is
Yes,
done.
Nicholas Homiak, I don't know if this is science fiction or not, but with all these automobile dealerships you have around here, is it possible to negotiate either a spot in their lot or some type of pro bono maintenance for your ambulance through some of these dealerships to be for a good neighbor? Has anyone ever tried that?
Is that your only question, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the maintenance standpoint, vehicle maintenance is handled by the mechanic assigned to the Parks and Forestry Division under Jim Walsh. I don't know. Does that answer everything?
Yeah, I think he was also referring to.
Let's just say this: that type of
store it.
question would have to be answered by the administration, because we would negotiate with, I guess, dealerships. But I would venture to say that there's liabilities involved here and those types of things that I don't think.
Emergency insurance.
Yeah, I don't think they would want to be involved in.
Right, and the other thing besides the equipment and the vehicle and stuff, if we're saying potentially a pseudo station or outpost, we can't just come from anywhere because of the patient information that we have to keep secure, and because we don't even keep stuff at the Powder Mill Firehouse. That's simply an outpost. Everything is secure at the community center because that's our main point of operation. So, great concept, but there's a lot of logistics involved with it as
It's a
a
good
licensed
idea,
agency.
but yeah, it is a good idea. But.
Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. First thing I just thought of, I guess this is really directed for Ann. you might want to revisit the white-collar salary ordinance before the budget's passed, just to keep them in line with the salary adjustments for this year. So there's no issue with that this year. So just a heads up, do things in the right order. I guess a couple questions for Carlo. So,
You're going to need a mic when he's done.
well, it's going to be just a couple of short questions. I know Carlo a long time. I know he's worked for the town for a long time. When you first started in the 90s, generally, what was the policy as far as inspecting how many times a year?
Generally, if you're looking under basically our performance standards, it only indicated initially back then that it was once a year. Now, depending on how it's classified, it could be numerous times throughout the year, depending on if it's complaint-driven, if it's foodborne related, there's maybe the potential for some communicable diseases and so on. So, I mean, you could look at a facility that at any given time, I'd say within the course of a year, could be inspected 4 or 5 times a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I can only go with empirical evidence of my own experience with the town. Back in the day, in the
Yes.
90s, it was like clockwork, a minimum twice a year.
Uh-huh.
And like all the restaurants that I knew. And as the years progressed and times changed, it went to once a year. And then I remember a time, I would say maybe about 5 years ago, I actually had to call Michelle up and say, hey, it's been 18 months.
Yeah.
Got to come down here. And it was a lack of manpower.
Yeah.
But I know I've asked this question in the last 3 years. I see that you have in the budget an additional hire for later in the year.
Yes.
Now that would make it for 3, assuming that Michelle would be full-time administrative and wouldn't be out in the field.
Yes.
That would give you 3 inspectors.
Yes, that would be a 33% increase in staff.
Right.
Yeah, we'd have an additional one out in the field.
Do you think that would be enough to?
Right now, we would have, and actually, it is a good question. Only time will tell. And we do have a handful of years ago, we did purchase software to monitor that, and hence the reason why now we actually have the numbers to justify for that increased hire. It would probably take at least a full cycle, 18 months, to see if those numbers have increased. I'm certain they will increase. Will they increase to the capacity of twice a year? That's a very attainable goal. Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Also, if still as acting director, I do still have my license, and I also can go out on inspection. Right.
I do too, but that's. Yeah.
Actually,
No,
I
I'll
have
tell you.
been. You'd be surprised.
She's been, and you know what? Just full disclosure, she has been unbelievable in the past handful of months, just trying to do more with less. And our ultimate goal is just to get the staff revamped. And again, the administration and the council is assisting us to get there. But she has been just a workhorse. That's yeah. No, agree. Yeah.
Correct. That is our long-term goal. Right, of course.
Hopefully short term. Thank you, John.
Okay, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye. Just real quick
Opposed?
before we go to the next section, for next meeting, could you definitely get us the merit raises? Because I have a feeling I'm going to keep asking the same question when I really don't need to.
Yeah, no, and that, and
That's
we- yeah,
why
and we said it at the beginning
I
that we
know,
would
I
do
got
that.
you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and we will.
Okay, next we'll have the Department of Planning, Zoning,
Good
and
job.
Construction, including housing and
And
fire
we didn't
prevention.
mean to have it be
Oh,
awkward,
no,
yeah,
I
but
know.
but
But
it's
I
such
have
a
a feeling the
sensitive thing,
questions
yeah.
I'm asking, I don't
Absolutely.
need to ask.
Okay, yeah.
Something big.
Thank you. And again, it's a fluid operation, and I think it's working well, but we always room for improvement, and that's something we will have.
We're saving the best for last. And we're sticking to a nice time schedule here. Not too bad.
Not bad at all.
Good night. Thank you. Dean, thank you.
No one get distracted here.
Tell you the truth, this is all done.
Thank God. Because we did our homework prior to coming. That's it. Hello.
Hello.
I don't think an ambulance should have a 5-year life. That doesn't make any sense. For 200,000 every 5 years,
Here's some of
$200,000 to replace an ambulance? Outrageous. That's why I wanted the permanent on here. But yeah, how was the engine run? Because the engine is still good, they can make that thing run another 5 years.
Okay, I guess
5-year cycles, I don't agree.
Motion?
I just have a couple questions on division number 290.
Are you
Yeah.
in the Board of Adjustment?
No, on
Right to 290?
division number 290. Yeah, well,
Everything else is been dry.
229, vehicle equipment is more than doubled from last year.
Yes, in the past, close. In the past, we've always purchased one vehicle for construction. We had employees who were part-time sharing vehicles. One of our part-time employees recently became full-time, and obviously the use of sharing a vehicle was impossible. It was an odd year. We actually lost 3 vehicles this year, 1 in zoning and 2 in construction. The mechanic felt that they should not be repaired, and so this is the first time ever that I've actually submitted for two vehicles for construction.
Sounds reasonable.
Better off going by budget, not into capital?
I don't know, I mean, it sounds like the pool wants to go and pick and choose.
No. Well, no, he had a question about the
Oh,
vehicles.
no, on the vehicles, I mean.
Oh,
I mean,
Should-
that are not
I've
put into
actually, for-
capital and stuff.
They would have to be, the SUV. Now, I know that there was, I don't think it's legislation, but there's something that we saw from the finance notice that possibly vehicles now could be in capital, which is something we are gonna investigate in. So, give us some time.
Okay.
And the other thing like this is something where it's like, I'm sorry. Thanks, Lee. The thing is, you lease the vehicle, but it's not a real lease. It's like you pay it off in 4 years. So sometimes that works, and that way it's kind of a little bit of a combination of a capital, and yet it's a pay-as-you-go. So and it's less expensive, and they'll work with us. It's amazing how the car dealerships work with us. There's something, I don't know if, Ann, did you do in Morristown? I've done it both in Mendham and in Denville, and it really does work, and it does help put it in, what you're putting in is over a period of time.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's
more affordable, it's reasonable.
very much, it'll be less than that. I think that's how we'll address that. We'll
Like better
go into a
roll, yeah.
lease program. It's phenomenal. Really what you're doing is you pay it over 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
fair.
we'll do that, okay?
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
What happens after the 4 years?
You own it.
You own it?
Yeah, you own it.
It's yours.
It's not really a lease, it's really, that's what they call it. But it's a lease purchase agreement.
Straight
A
up.
lease
And-
purchase.
Lease
agreement.
purchase.
Purchase
Lease
agreement,
purchase
yeah.
is different.
Yeah, I should have
Okay.
said it clearly, but that's what it is. It's a lease purchase agreement,
That's the
and,
budget then this year.
yeah, big time, and then you're just budgeting it, and again, as Jen was saying, when you have some unique things happen, strange, so the part, that was somebody was sharing, and then the vehicles that were used, but this is the way to, I think you'll save money this way, but you get the right vehicle out there, safe vehicle.
And I only buy vehicles out of my construction and my fire prevention, and then those vehicles are passed on to my other employees. And we pass them down based on how much mileage. We keep a record of if what car has being repaired on. So it's not always the oldest vehicle that goes, it's the one that's getting the most repair. And we track all of that with vehicle numbers.
That's smart.
And again, I guess one of the reasons why Jen, when it says talk about, is construction in particular, as we all know that those of us who have been working on budgets a long time, there was always the concern that construction had, raised the fees and numbers and made sure that you were certainly putting the resource back a little bit into the department that was producing those fees, and that those fees were used to, in a sense, even though it's the entire budget, so that those fees are being used for the department that's going out and doing the inspections and doing that
Under
work.
inspections again, 271, which would be consultants, and then after that, we have conflict of interest inspector. Do we use them? I mean, because the last 2 years have been zero.
We have to have something in there to budget for that, because heaven forbid a council member or the mayor proposes an addition. One of our employees who work in the building department actually purchased a home this year, and he's doing work on his home. So you will see that money actually this year be spent.
Don't we have agreements with the other towns that we just cross
We,
over?
we do, but usually it's very rare that they have something come towards us because they're much smaller. So it's a nominal fee, but it's usually
So we pay that
small. So
whenever we have
for
something
the
else?
inspections, usually for the possible for the inspections and for the plan review. It actually, in my time, hasn't happened in quite a few years. This is the first year, so it's new to us.
Okay, it's not allowed.
You want to keep the money in there just to keep that line open, so.
Heaven forbid, I would hate to have to cut something else out. I keep my budgets very close. There's no extra money, so if we needed that, I would have to let go of something else that we plan to purchase, so I keep it very close.
So we have to pay another municipality to do the inspection then?
Depending on if they have someone that we review and vice versa, then it kind of is a wash.
Okay.
But in the past, they very rarely have something come to us for
What
an inspection.
municipality do we share that service with?
Oh, we did have Denville at a time.
absolutely.
And we're
use Morris
actually
Plains?
in Morris Plains. So
Yeah.
we've kind of gone back and forth. It
Does-
depends on their inspectors, because remember, Parsippany has a lot of full-time inspectors, and the other towns, they have part-time inspectors. Depending on who shares services and depending on how busy they are, they try to make themselves available.
And who decides what municipality gets that inspection? Is it the applicant or is it your department?
For
Whether
which
whether
town
it's
I'm
Denville or
going to,
Morris Plains, let's say.
it would be my decision.
Your decision, okay.
Yes. And I would talk to both and see which town is more available, because obviously I don't
Right.
want a council member or the administration to wait on anything. So, and sometimes they'll tell us in the summer they're extremely busy, they don't have the time. But like I said, it hasn't happened very frequently.
Right.
This is our first year, probably in about 3 years.
Do we do it with Hanover and Morris Plains as well? We work with them?
Morris Plains.
Morris Plains.
Morris Plains?
Morris Plains and Denville.
Denville, okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
One thing that I asked, and I talked to Jen, and we had a council meeting this past Tuesday, and as you know, both the planner spoke as well as the attorney, and all of our concerns are to the COA rules and regulations. What I'd like to propose, and again, I don't do this in a cavalier way, but in order to control the funding and control the working with our professionals, I'm going to recommend that, and again, at the end of the year, but I wanted to put it out there while the head of planning and zoning is here, an $80,000 number in the planning for professional consultants as it deals with the COA, so that we have that, because it is going to be quite costly to put our plan together. I would imagine. I mean, maybe that's a little excessive. Maybe it should be 75, 50,000. I'm going to take a look at that number, but I think it needs to be addressed. There needs to be a number, but I want to put it in planning, because I think that's a place where it can be monitored. Because of the nature of the COA rules and regulations, as you know, that number the swing on that number is so great, you know. And
Just have one more question.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Is it concerned this? I just want to
No.
address what you're saying.
Oh, no, it's something else.
Do you mind if I check for a
Go
moment?
ahead.
So what you're saying is put an additional $80,000 in the budget for professional planners. Does that include legal as well?
It would be for that particular purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you proposing to hire an outside attorney to represent us for COA that has the experience, or?
I think.
No, we would use the township attorney for that. I mean, that's who we would use. That's who was dealing with now. But you would have it in that fund.
We have 20,000 there right now?
That's used particularly just for the planning board applications.
That's
Right,
just for
and
planning board
that, yeah, that
applications.
gets used, so there isn't any excess in that.
What is the legal we have for 6,000? I do see an increase in object code 357, page 1 of 1, I'm sorry. Division 290.
Oh, 290, I'm sorry.
Division 290, object code 357, legal, 6,000.
In 290,
We all used about 2363 in 2014. Object code 357.
it's remained the same at 6,000 due to, we have 3 pending cases that started the prior year.
Okay.
And are ongoing.
Right.
And they actually really just recently contacted Ellen and I. They will be filing a suit. So unfortunately, that probably will be.
Because I see we only spent about 2,300 last year. So
Exactly. It was a good year.
Good year.
It was a good year. It was
Yeah.
a good year. Unfortunately, 2 of the
It was-
cases
yeah.
carried.
Yeah,
Right.
it was a good year, and, you know, there's something that's rather serious,
Thank
and
you.
will be expended, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Take the good years when we can get them, but.
Yeah.
Just had a question. Division number 296. Object code 471, Supplemental Fire Service Program. We budgeted 18,948. We didn't use any last year. We're budgeting the same amount. I
It actually
couldn't
should.
find that under the description. I didn't see it
It
listed.
actually was spent, and that was the money that, in the past, that supplemental. I was asked by the previous CFO to put that dollar amount in. It has to do with the fire districts, and it used to be in another place in the budget, but that actually was spent. My understanding is that's spent. I don't know why that's showing, because on my end, that's showing spent, the full amount.
And we'll verify that it. We'll verify that it was
And is
spent,
the-
but I
is
believe
the,
it's one of those things where the bills come in a
Also,
bit late.
261, computer equipment. Are they looking to purchase new computers?
Yes, the department right now has computers at their desk, which are the XP. I don't know if the IT department has asked all the department heads to phase out this year all their XP computers. Unfortunately, my other departments, where we were doing 2 at a time, that entire department has the XP computers. But what we're thinking of doing this year, because they also have tough books and they're out on the road, instead of buying them a computer for the office and a tablet for out on the road, we're just going to buy them the tablet for out on the road and use it for both and actually save money. So
Yeah, that's way to go.
that's what our plan is. So really only the secretary will need a regular computer at her desk, and everyone else will have a tablet or tough book. And I'm hoping to switch from the tough book to tablet because they're much cheaper.
Right.
Will that have will that have Windows 7 or Windows 8?
Windows 7.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
reason why we're not going to Windows
Yeah.
8. Everything's
Yeah.
Windows
Eight's-
7.
Yeah, I went to 7 when I bought my new computer. I didn't go to 8.
Jennifer, a question on the Division 296, fire prevention specialist. I see we're adding one, am I correct?
We had one retire. Our fire official retired. We recently promoted one of our inspectors to fire official, and we will be replacing his position later in the year.
Oh, because I didn't see one retired, I see one resign.
Yeah, there was retirement.
Should it be corrected?
No, that was a clerk.
Yeah,
Clerical
it's actually been over a year since the fire official
Okay.
resigned. So once his salary's not in there, they remove him. He's been
remove him.
gone for almost 2 years.
So it's not a, it's,
So
Not a
it's,
resign, it's
It's not a
retirement.
resign.
That's what
he
he's
retired, yes, he retired.
but retired over a year ago.
Yes, almost
Okay.
2 years.
So that would eliminate the overtime that we expended in 2014 then? But I still see 10,000 in overtime proposed.
There is $10,000 in overtime, and the reason for that is fire prevention does inspections on the weekend and the evenings for events. If the school's having a function or one of the hotels, we do pay for that for overtime. We've been doing that for about 20 years.
Is there an increased price structure we have for inspections for weekends? when we
I'm
charge?
sorry?
Do we charge an increased fee for weekend inspections?
We charge based on the type of inspection. So there's a formula. It's basically the type of inspection, how many hours, depending on the event. If you're having 100 people versus 200 people, the more inspectors that you need. It's all by ordinance.
Okay. So could we possibly add an additional fee if we have weekend inspections?
We could if we wanted to change the ordinance. I mean, I think recently, probably about 2 years, we increased most of the fees in the department with the administration, and a lot of the fees were redone. So they're pretty current in what other towns are doing.
Thank you.
Paul, before you open it up for questions, can I just say that the capital, with regard to the capital, that has to do with the CAD system, as we talked. You'll see that there in the one area, the $60,000, which is the $10,000. You're not going to see it, not in her budget, but I'm just saying that the $10,000 for each one of the fire districts, and then with regard to Jen's inspections, you want to just talk about it? We said we put in about 40 something.
Yes, for the we put in $45,000 for the Pro Phoenix system. We attended several demonstrations, and we brought in the entire department. They also had, I think, different firemen there, and it's amazing what it's going to be able to do for our department. They'll be able to, out on the road on their tablet or Toughbook, pull up the site with pictures, all the information from the past. Right now, we pretty much only have in the Toughbook the inspection that you're currently going on for that day. But those tablets will be able to pull past years and past sites with pictures. There'll be a GPS feature to be able to show them where fire hydrants are, the closest proximity to schools. It's quite amazing what it's going to do for the department.
Jennifer, I just want to add that we went to a ribbon cutting the other day for a major company moving into Parsippany, and they had a lot of positive comments about Fire Prevention Bureau with their suggestions, and they said it was a good process. So I'd like to thank your team there for doing a very good job, and it's nice when you're doing a ribbon cutting, you hear some positive remarks.
That's wonderful. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
It's good news.
Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to open a public hearing on these sections.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Jonathan Nelson, just one really short question. I just didn't know the process, but I guess by the omission, I guess that's the answer. For subject 280, the Board of Adjustment, I see that there's no line item for the planner. Is that just because all fees are paid by the applicants? So
They're
there would
paid
be-
through the escrow, correct. I actually, as the zoning officer, do all the residential reviews, and obviously I don't charge a fee. So only the large commercial applications that are reviewed by Chapman, which is about 20% of the reviews that come in, they're paid through the escrow. I do the reviews, so most of them we don't have to put up.
So there's no per meeting fee that Chadwick or the board planner charges town?
There, no, it's Board of Adjustment you're asking about, correct?
Because you have it for the planning board. That's why I didn't see it for the Board of Adjustment.
He only attends the meetings where he has cases on, where the planner attends the planning board for every application and reviews every application. He needs to be there for every meeting. So we've always paid most of it through escrow, but there are things that he answers for the board, where the Board of Adjustment has never needed that service. And in the old days, I used to attend the meetings and answer the questions, and it never really had any, so I didn't need to keep attending.
Okay, yeah, I've never seen John not attend a meeting. That's what just made me think of it. But, okay. Right, that's it.
Thank you.
Nick, we weren't going to forget you.
Well, I almost forgot myself.
Just state your name.
Nick Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. A suggestion, you said there was $10,000 with overtime. If you know this work is coming up, is it possible to change the schedule? I don't know what the management labor relations are, the type of employees that are conduct.
The fire
But-
prevention employees actually already work 8 to 5, unlike the other departments. They already work 40-hour week, and we have 4 inspectors, and during that time, they're fully handling all the inspections of the township, because remember, all those locations are inspected once a year, some are 4 times a year. So, and it's not, usually each inspector takes a week, so it's on a rotation basis, and with the new fire official, I hope to, over the next few years, decrease that until a small amount. This is our first year with the new fire official, and we're hoping to change that. But there are certain events that are in the evenings and the weekends.
Okay, so it was just for like a weekend, like you give the guy, the work's coming up, and he's really not consuming all of his 40 hours, so for that week, you give him Tuesday,
They're all
Wednesday.
consuming, yeah. The fire prevention, they're extremely hard. They're in the office before 8 o'clock. They're already out on the road at 8 o'clock, already doing their inspections. They're amazing. There is no time left in the day for them to do any extra.
And the housing department, are they really effective in any way? I mean, when I really, honest to God, when I see what's going on in some of these apartment buildings and things like that, I used to make the complaints about how they like a recycle or sanitation.
Right.
But my argument is, isn't it good housekeeping? It's not. It seems like everything gets pushed off on Mr.
If it's
Schneider.
regarding garbage and recycling, it is a sanitation issue. If you're upset with the way that a property owner takes care of their dumpster, that is sanitation. Housing takes care of your overcrowding, your bed bugs, your mold and mildew. They do the biennial inspections.
But what triggers an inspection?
All the apartment complexes are inspected every other year biennial. Anytime a tenant moves out and a new one comes in, we do a CH inspection. They also do all the complaints for the town. They do the highways. They are very busy. We have 4 inspectors right now.
So if a landlord doesn't want to buy a garbage can and he's using the municipal garbage can for his trash, is that sanitation or housing?
Sanitation. As soon as it's something garbage and recycling, if your neighbor next door to you has garbage around his backyard, and
Yeah.
it doesn't have to do with out at the curb, that would be property maintenance. Property maintenance is the painting of your home, the mowing of your lawn, making sure that that you're not running a business out of your home. As soon as it has to do with the curb and the street and your garbage and recycling, that is sanitation. It's been like that always. Greg and I have an understanding. If he gets a complaint that he feels is property maintenance, he passes it to me. We work very well together.
My last question, does your department do random inspections?
Yes, yes. Especially in areas that we know that there's a problem. If we've received a complaint in an area and we've went out there 4 or 5 times and we don't find anything, those inspectors go back every other week to follow that. They have certain areas that they're assigned that they follow up in. But again, we're only as good as if people call and tell us what they're seeing. If they don't call us and tell us, we're out there every 2 years and we're out there on a CH. We don't always see what the public is seeing. That's why it's so important to give us a call, and that way we can go out and look at it.
Yeah, that's why random inspections, because nobody wants to rat on your neighbor.
Right. You can always file anonymous. We'll always look into it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, entertain a motion to close the public hearing on this.
Make a motion.
area. Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Paluso. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion.
Motion made by Mr. Paluso,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Valori. All in favor? Opposed?
I got Jennifer here, so let me just ask, and Nick just reminded me of something. Jonathan Nelson, 202 Patriots Road. It must have been 15 years ago, Assemblyman DeCroce pushed forward a statute down in Trenton that said that if a building started to go up but was never completed, that it either had to be fenced in or taken down after a certain amount of time. I don't remember. I don't know what statute number that is, but that is law right now. And a good example of that is not in Parsippany, but on Route 10 in, I guess it's Denville, the old that old Italian restaurant, the Italian Chalet. They were starting to build it. The steel went up. They walked away from it, and Denville made them. And Denville made them take it down. On Route 10, right before Powder Mill Road. Jennifer and I both pass it every day, those concrete or cinder block columns.
Elevators, elevator shafts.
Elevator.
I don't know if they're elevator shafts, I think they're actually
Staircase.
stairwells, emergency stairwells. I don't know what's going on with that project, but it's got to be up there for pushing 10 years now. So,
I would definitely need to see that. I know the construction department, they have regulations that are by the DCA, and you have so much time from the time you submit that permit to complete the work, and it's a lot of time. But also, if the property owner has walked away from the property and it's in the middle of foreclosure, which is usually what those properties are,
I don't know if that is.
there isn't always someone to go after. But I can definitely look into it. I do remember, we've talked about this in the past, and the construction officials said that it's not in his code to be able to enforce them to complete the building. But I don't know about the fencing. I've never heard
well,
of
it's
that.
either fencing or they, I don't, it's obvious that you can't make them finish it, but what you can do is make it them take it down. And yeah.
The thing with regard to the Denville Italian Chalet, where we got them was, not because they weren't finishing the building, but they had left the open, and it became a nuisance hazard. It was filling with water, and we thought kids would drown or something. And that's how yes. That's how we were able to enforce that, because you're right, it's very difficult to keep pushing. I mean, you want to say, give them timelines, but the law is not easy on that one.
No, unfortunately, all of us have to have we all have to have an ordinance or a code to follow. And I'll speak tomorrow morning with the construction official. I do remember us talking about that.
I remember Alex.
Do you remember what, it might not have went through construction. It might be through a different department. I'll have to look.
I don't know the statute, but he pushed it forward, and it did pass.
Because I remember two of the properties that we had, we did have them, one, I required them, I called it through zoning an unsafe structure, and I made them fence it. And then we had another property where we made them fill the holes. So I know, if there's a hole and there's water and there's a possibility, I had two on North Beverick. One I made them fence and one I made them fill the hole. As rehab director, I can do that, so.
I just want to bring up an experience that I
Wait,
had
hold on,
when
it's
say again?
Okay, just state your name for the record.
Nick Homiak, Lake Hiawatha. I needed an inspector. I was putting a system into my house when I bought it. So it was a plumbing, and then for a ground wire, they said I needed an electric. Usually one trades or all trades. Here's the point. I was still working at the time. I had to take a day off from work. But I had to wait for the morning for the plumber, and then I had to wait a couple hours later for the electrician for a simple ground wire. Now that, to me, was inconsideration by the department toward toward a resident, because it could have been done they couldn't even give me a time. So theoretically, I could have said, well, I'll work a half a day, but I had to take the whole day off. But it was the idea that the waiting around where it could have been done, and it was a simple ground wire.
Was it recently?
Oh, no, but I'm just talking if that practice is still going on, because
Each inspector has a different subcode. So your plumbing inspector is licensed for plumbing. He's not an electrician.
yeah, I understand all
They're
that.
separate, but you can call the department and tell them that you're scheduling, the ladies, that you're scheduling 2 inspections for 2 subcodes, and you can request morning or afternoon, and those inspectors will come simultaneously. What happens sometimes is one of our subcodes might be busier than the other. If they're out 4 or 5 days, and the other gentleman can come the following day, we want to try to get you in and out as quickly as possible. And for instance, right now, we have hundreds of plumbing inspections we're doing, as one of the apartment complex is changing all their bathrooms. That's hundreds of inspections. So obviously, we're trying to fill everyone else in there. There are times, but most of the time, if you ask the ladies, they are very accommodating.
It was just the impression I got was I was inconveniencing the town in some manner or form, that it was like, I'm the guy that should have had the, it was just, I
I'm
just
sure
didn't.
that wouldn't happen now.
Yeah, I hope not, but I remember I just didn't like the way the whole thing came off, and I
Yeah,
thought
we
they made it,
changed all that very
yeah, a
prominently.
simple thing, they made it too complicated. But, that's not going on anymore, that's great.
I haven't received a complaint in over 2 years. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion?
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, at this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Make a motion?
Motion made by Mr. Valori, seconded by Mr. Stanton. Roll call.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Mr. Paluso.
Yes.
Mr. Stanton.
Yes.
Mr. Valori.
Yes.
Mr. Karifi.
Yes. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Great job, everyone.